makes me feel like a man.
You want every team to lose any other game? Sorry. Bailey Zappi just put another dime. You know what? Wait. Time out. Are you kidding? That's what I'm gonna try to drop a mic. Welcome into the Warner Brothas Podcast. My name is Keenan. You see some people here today. We've got the full squad. We've got Timmy. We've, of course, got Kyle. We've got Mr. Ducati, and then we've got bad back Branndon. we've got
That's crazy.
We've got triple B's in the building. And now speaking of triple B's, Lonzo in the building too. How is everyone doing? I'm kidding, Branndon. I hope your back is better.
Shots fired.
Good, everyone.
Facts off rip.
How's everyone doing?
We good with that Derek Fisher jersey on.
Yeah, right. Keenan looks like he's got a Derek Fisher jersey with a Subway hat, but I can see it's a Bass Pro Shop hat.
He definitely went going fishing.
From the distance.
I really am going fishing if this is Derek Fisher. If that's really Derek Fisher going fishing. No, really. But okay, so obviously we've talked football, basketball, music with all of us together, but today football based. If we go on anything else, it's because it's a pod, of course, but football based because free agency has been wild as it is every single year. It doesn't disappoint. It's Christmas number 2 for the NFL, which is absolutely lovely. So I'm going to start with Branndon here. Branndon, which team so far do you feel has had the best free agency period to this point?
Actually, I think it's a kind of like a toss-up between two of the AFC South teams. I got to go with the Jaguars as a homer, obviously.
Yep.
And then,
I do like
now that I'm thinking about it, I would say the Texans, but I think maybe the Falcons. I think it's 50-50 with Kirk Cousins, and they also brought in Darnell Mooney, and they got Rondale Moore today, and then obviously Jacksonville, they got Eric Armstead today.
Yeah, that's a big
Gabe
pickup.
Davis, Darnell Savage, Mitch Morse, they needed a new center, Ronald Darby. So, yeah, I think it's a toss-up between Atlanta and Jacksonville.
Absolutely. Duke,
Your two teams. So
Oh, yeah. Oh, guys, just as an FYI, we clearly see him in the Jaguars, and we know he's all Jaguars. His secondary team's Atlanta. They're close enough, too, to where, like, kind of in spitting distance.
Yeah,
so,
It's my second home. And plus, Kyle
guy,
Pitts is my favorite player in the NFL, too. So I'm happy that
I would say that's a Florida guy, too, so it's fair.
I got to say this. Branndon had a classic Branndon move. He had a classic Branndon move where he kills the Jags in the group chat. Fuck this. I'm done with this team. It's over with. Come to here. Jags are the winner of free agency so far. So, classic Branndon move.
Get brought up.
I was not ready for it. I was not ready for him to say the Jags at all, but hey.
Isn't that every bad team's thing, though? Like, every bad team fan is going to be like, F y'all, and then as soon as we see one big move, that's what I'm talking about. We back on time. Like what I'm about to say. Raiders winning the division.
We got knocked out the playoffs, That's how it always
Minshew mania.
Minshew.
In the NBA, you do get to a point where you're like, there's no way the Pistons fans came into the season thinking that they've got it. Every single NFL team thinks they can make the playoffs. Even the Panthers are like, we got Bryce. Our roster might not be good, but we got Bryce Young. We've absolutely got playoff chances. Everyone in the NFL.
There's always a path.
There's always everyone in the NFL, all 32. You never get that in the NBA because there's some teams they go and they're like, we're not good. NFL teams, especially fan bases, everyone's good. But Duke, do you have a biggest winner of this free agents?
Besides being biased, besides being biased for my own team, LV. Realistically, the winners is only probably the Eagles and the Ravens. Eagles, especially because they just got White from the Bucks today too. So now you got Derrick Henry, which he already was number 1 offense. You have an MVP. You're coming back. Derrick Henry never had an offensive line like this. Like, it don't matter what anybody say. That read option is going to be nuts. And that defense is only going to improve. They had a lot of young guys. They was missing people. That looks crazy right now. And then, obviously, the Eagles. Y'all got Saquon. Y'all doing that that butt tush stuff don't even matter no more. Like, pass the ball to Saquon, we straight. Like, we're gonna be in the end zone. Then they got the line right, and I think they're gonna draft big too. But I hope they trade one of their wide receivers and actually make a move on somebody.
Cool.
Devontae Smith to the Jaguars.
then we'll be talking about the Jaguars, my boy.
Every fan base ever. Oh, T. Higgins is up for actually on the trade. But every fan, we get T. Higgins, man. He fits our.
Well, you already heard what Justin Jefferson said, right?
Brandon Ayuk to the Jaguars. It's an actual thing. There's a rumor going on, and it's a big reporter in Jacksonville, and San Francisco also published it out earlier today. There's mutual interest between Brandon Ayuk and Jacksonville.
That's wild.
To get a trade done.
That'd be big. That would be big. Timmy, how are you feeling about this offseason thus far? You, biggest winner.
It's been pretty wild. I definitely didn't expect as many moves as we saw, like 2 hours into free agency. It just felt like there had to be some illegal tampering going on because these contracts were like already done like days ago, it seems, and they were just ready to wait for the period to open. But totally agree. I think the Falcons are a big winner. I think the Eagles are a big winner. But low-key, two teams I think that have just done pretty well. The Commanders are spending money. They got a ton of it. They've brought in a ton of veteran pieces, and I low-key think that they're going to be more competitive than people think they will be next year, especially with a rookie QB at the helm. And I actually think the Steelers signing Russ, they got Patrick Queen, they get rid of Deontay, but that kind of frees up the wide receiver room there. I think they can also be competitive. If they're a playoff team last year with no QB, Russ is definitely going to help them be a little bit better than that. So I think that's another team that can definitely compete this next year because of this.
Who's the Commanders' head coach?
Dan Quinn.
It is Dan Quinn. Yeah. It is Dan Quinn. That's right.
Patrick Queen's going to be one of the most underrated signings of this entire period. I think, especially because he came from a division rival, going to a division rival, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
I gotta
agree
with
like he would be a Raven right now if they had the money, but they don't. So,
Kyle, you're good.
Yeah, no, I gotta agree with Tim. The Commanders definitely piqued my interest. I did not expect them to be this aggressive. It definitely is a sign of a new era in Washington for sure. But I got to agree with Duke. Saquon and Derrick Henry definitely caught my attention the most, especially on the Eagles side of things, because they just are star-studded at all the skill positions. And the fact that you take Saquon from the Giants, who will at least be formidable this year. Like, they're always going to be a tough opponent. I mean, playoffs, we'll see. We'll see how the draft shakes out and the rest of free agency. But they're still going to be tough, you know? So to land him and to have that running attack already, that offensive line's still nice, they're going to be a problem. Like, that's going to open up their offense even more. He's even a decent receiver out of the backfield, so that's going to help Jalen Hurts a lot. And like Duke said, Derrick Henry in that read option with Lamar, you're not going to stop that. They already had the best rushing attack last year, and you got someone who, in my opinion, is still as good as he was when he got 2K. You know, maybe not as explosive, but like, if that was a 10 out of 10, he's still like a 9.5 out of 10. Like, I would take Derrick Henry over most backs in this league outside of McCaffrey. So, yeah, I mean, if you're a Ravens fan, you got to be happy about that. They'll obviously be upgrading at a receiver too. They got rid of Odell. They'll probably go. I mean, it's a deep receiver draft, so they'll probably take someone there. I don't know. I mean, look, you got to be scared if you're the Chiefs. Chiefs still, they're going to upgrade whatever. We'll see. They'll probably hit more in the draft, whatever. But I mean, you know, the Eagles are a competitor there in the NFC. That's someone you could possibly face if you come out, if you're the Chiefs. And the Ravens, obviously, you're going to see in the playoffs too, most likely. So, yeah, those are two huge moves for two contenders.
Yeah. I liked both of those moves, but they didn't fully move the needle for me as much as they did for other people because I felt they took their strength and just made them stronger. It does give new wrinkles and new assets to them, of course. So I don't think they're bad moves by any means. But I know a lot of people really loved them. I liked them. I didn't love them just because I felt the Ravens already had the best rushing attack in the league, but you added to it. So you have a different facet to it. So it's going to make that even better. And then the Eagles, the best thing they really did was rush the ball, and then you added to it. So you made that even better. A team actually that I'm going to bring up a different one that I think had a really good free agency period thus far is actually an AFC South team, but it's the Titans. So I think when they fired Mike Vrabel and they let Derrick Henry go. So with that, they basically are going to an entirely new. It's like this era of the Titans. We got the 1 seed. We lost to the Bengals, and then from there we're just moving on. So they have Brian Callahan. He was the OC in Cincinnati under Zach Taylor. Kind of comes from that offensive guru tree. Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, kind of that ladder. So you got that. So you still have Will Levis, who showed promise last year. You get Calvin Ridley to go along with Traylon Burks and obviously DeAndre Hopkins. You get Tony Pollard, a faster back out of the backfield who can receive a bit too. Defensively, you get Chidobe Awuzie, who has been a good slot corner, even outside too for the Bengals. Plus, and he's familiar with the coach. Plus, you get Kenneth Murray, who had over 100 tackles last season. I think that the Tennessee Titans have done well. They have the 8th pick. They're probably looking at getting Joe Alt, and if you get that kind of left tackle to go along with Will Levis and those receivers, you're really saying, hey, Will, we believe you can be the guy. Go show us. And if he is, I think all of this offseason was good. This offseason for them are really going to come down to, is Will Levis that good of a quarterback? And we'll see. Like, he showed promise last year, has some arm talent, kind of almost has like the Phillip Rivers-ish to him where he has like a weird throw. Like, he doesn't throw so fluent, but also he gets it there, accuracy, and he does have a strong arm. So
he's poised too, which is what you want to see out of a young QB.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he had that big Monday night win. I think it was Monday night against the Dolphins. He showed some poise. Dolphins choked, but like again, you had a big Monday night. You had a big Monday night win. You made some plays when you needed to make some plays.
That just gave me some PTSD.
You probably bet on that, and it probably didn't go well for you. But he did make some big plays he made some big plays in different games. Obviously, his first full game starting, I think it was 4 touchdowns, no picks. DeAndre had a day, so.
And then you got a full off season to get better.
Yeah, you know he is the guy there. You know, like you have the guy, you have your receiving core of a good one. You have Nkonkwo at tight end. He has a showing promise last year too. I think the Titans are going to be a little bit more interesting. It's really going to come down to what's the Callahan Levis combo going to look like.
Well, at that end, but like at the same time, with everybody in these positions and these moves getting made, it's still who's in your division. And I don't think that they beaten 3 out of those 4 teams in placement. Maybe not even. They might be last in that division still. So how many good of a move did you do if we ain't moving at all?
It's tough because like I think all those division games are going to be tough because I think I Branndon can speak on this more than anybody because obviously he keys in that division more than we do. Like I don't think he goes into Tennessee Titans games. He didn't before thinking that there were slouches. I don't know if he fears them now at all.
That's always a game that like for us that's always a game that like we know we can lose. Like when week 18 when we played them, like that's a game that like we're all sitting in a clubhouse or we're sitting down at the stadium and it's like we could lose this game because it's like Tennessee and Jacksonville is like it's kind of like it's a very heated rivalry, and you always get the best out of Tennessee. Like that's always kind of like their Super Bowl, even if they're if they're a good team, bad team, it doesn't matter. They always just seem to play Jacksonville a little bit harder than they play everybody else.
Yep, absolutely. Go.
Yeah, I mean, to Duke's point with the division, we said it, I believe, before we get on here. Like the Raiders are sitting in 3rd in the AFC West, right? Like they're kind of an injury away. Right, Broncos. I assume just right now, obviously, there's a lot that's going to happen, but the Broncos are sitting in 4th to me.
Yeah.
That AFC South is really wide open because now you got the Texans who are still young, but they're going to have the toughest schedule in that division. They're going to have a bullseye on their back to some degree in that division. You got Anthony Richardson coming back for the Colts, right? And the Jags, who have still probably the most talent. I mean, me and Brandon have talked about this a ton. Doug Peterson, I just don't think he's the right coach for that team. And, even if they get into the playoffs, if it's a first-round exit or a bad second-round loss, I could see him not coming back. Brandon would have more of a feel for that than me, but I don't know. Like we talked about Trevor Lawrence a ton this past year, and, I don't think he's, what we've been sold. But I've said this before. I still think he's going to be a great quarterback. I still think he's got all-pro potential. But I don't know if that's with Doug Peterson. I do want to ask y'all, we alluded to it quickly. But Kirk Cousins, that's the most interesting signing to me because without a doubt, you're automatically a winner if you're Atlanta because they had nothing at quarterback the last few seasons. Now you get Kirk Cousins, who's coming off the absolute worst sports injury in any sport. Doesn't matter what sport you're playing, that's the worst injury. We've seen people come back successfully. Kirk's one of these guys. I mean, we've talked about the quarterback play this past year. Like, it's gone downhill so much that Cousins elevated from a guy who couldn't win in the playoffs to where you're like, I can trust this guy because he can command an offense better than 90% of the league. So how are you guys feeling about him coming back off an Achilles injury to this team who has a ton of talent, ton of offensive talent? Kyle Pitts is going to be feeling great now that he's got someone who can throw him the ball. Do you think it's going to be good? Do you think it's going to be unsuccessful? Like, how do you guys feel about it? The Duke's got his thumbs down. Why is that? You think it's going to be the Achilles?
Playoffs. All this man do is win regular season games. He's 1-4 in playoffs. And he got $180 million off the worst injury. Trash. Super trash. I don't even think he's going to be a shell of himself.
It's really $90 million. It's really $90 million, though.
It's an early out. It's an early out.
You got a guaranteed 100, I think.
Do you think they at least get to the playoffs with him, though? Do you think?
Oh, yeah. Of course he's going to get to the playoffs. That division's easy. That's a cakewalk.
That's what I'm saying.
But that's a regular season quarterback. When the lights shine bright, he ain't even there. And I also think he might not because, like you said, that's the worst injury. I got to see you come back from that. You're not the most athletic dude either. So that's just what it is. Like, I think it's more hype than anything, selling some seats. He does have y'all do have, like, as an Atlanta fan, you have a great offensive set right now with Bijan, with Kyle Pitts. You got Drake London, who I think about to show up and show out now. And then you got a crazy line. Like, this really could have been something if it was Kirk Cousins 3 years ago. But Kirk Cousins after this injury, nobody knows what he looked like. Only person I'm trusting after this is like A-Rod.
That's why it's so intriguing to me is because, like we just said, it's the worst injury, but he was playing the best ball of his career right before, like even in that game, the Packers game, he was playing some great quarterback play. But I have the same trepidations. I just don't know how he's going to come back. I think he'll be good enough, but I don't know if he's going to be to the level he was the last couple seasons. So I agree with you there.
So,
Timmy, what do you? I'm sorry, Brandon, you go.
Okay.
And then Timmy, you go after.
Okay. I think the contract was like the biggest thing, and I understand why they gave him that contract because Daniel Jones inflated the market. When you give Daniel Jones 4 years, $160 million, a quarterback like Kirk Cousins' caliber is going to see that, and he's going to be like, he's going to need a little bit more money. To Kyle's point, he was playing the best football of his career before he got hurt. I want to say he was second in the league in passing yardage. And then I know he was top 3, top 4 in passing touchdowns. In terms of the injury, I'm not overly concerned with it. Yes, it is an Achilles injury, but Kirk Cousins doesn't have a huge, lengthy injury history. Granted, like I said, it is an Achilles, and he is 35 years old. I think with modern medicine now, it's a lot easier to spring back from that injury. And, he's not really a running back. A running back, you'd be more concerned with the running back coming off of an Achilles injury. Look at like Cam Akers, J.K. Dobbins. Those guys, you got to, you're dealing with taking off and, planting, getting north and south, jump cuts, stuff like that. And then I think too, Minnesota had a great supporting cast. Jefferson and Addison and Hawkinson, and then he goes to Atlanta. We all think Drake London, can be a bona fide superstar in the league. I think Kyle Pitts has all the potential in the world. I think he's got best tight end in the league potential. Maybe best receiving threat in the league potential. He's 6'6", 250, and he runs a 4.4. And he's got an insane catch radius. You bring in Darnell Mooney. You bring in Rondale Moore, who had all the talent in the world coming out of Purdue. Was a second-round pick at 5'8", 5'9". Never really lived up to it in Arizona. I think it was the way he was used. So I think Atlanta, and their defense was good last year. I want to say they were 12th, 11th in DVOA, which is basically a major defensive category.
They had a really good defense.
Yeah.
And the best, arguably best safety in football, in Jesse Bates. Like he's gonna change. He changed his life on that defense for sure.
Yeah, and AJ Terrell back there too. So I think.
Oh, absolutely.
I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if Atlanta's like a perennial contender. Like I could definitely see it. if things go right. I think Zach Robinson as the OC is really good. I also like Raheem Morris as a head coach. I feel like he's got that the Miko Ryans vibe to him. So I'm expecting big things out of Atlanta.
They need to play Kirk out of like a deep shotgun, like protect the hell out of him. Almost have him like a punt formation, just let him kick back.
But they've got a good offensive line too, so I don't think they'll have trouble protecting.
Top 5
them.
in the league.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying. That's what I was saying. Like it's lined up perfect. It's just how he's going to look.
I'm not too worried about the injury, to be completely honest. I think he's going to have plenty of time to recover. He's going to be healthy. He's going to be ready to go. And he's got one of the best offensive lines in football. They're going to keep him protected. He's got a great supporting cast. When it comes to an Achilles injury, I get it. It's extremely difficult to recover from that and still be 90% of what you were, right? We've only really seen like one person in sports history do that. He's a quarterback. He's not running. He's planting. It's not like they're asking him to sprint ever. So I'm not too worried about an Achilles. I think it'll be fine. If anybody's trusting Aaron Rodgers, they're going to be trusting Kirk Cousins just the same. In terms of the contract, exactly what Branndon said, Daniel Jones ruined it for everybody. Every contract at this point is bloated. Even if he didn't sign with Atlanta, another team would have offered him a very similar contract. And if he re-signed with Minnesota, we're probably looking at a 4-year, $160 million deal, which isn't very far off. So with the contract, I don't even really mind that at all.
All right, but to your point earlier, what if that was the Commanders? Now we're talking best moves in the offseason.
The Commanders shouldn't do it for 2 reasons. Is one, they don't have an offensive line to protect him whatsoever. And 2, they have the 2nd overall pick. They're getting a quarterback. If they're not getting a quarterback, they should then trade back because, they need to get value for their pick at that point. They're probably not taking Marvin Harrison at 2. They need offensive linemen. They need to be right around 10 and get, picks there. So then that's just like a way bigger deal. Atlanta's trying to win now. They got their coach. Now they got their quarterback. They've always had their stars. We just need to see them shine on the field, and they couldn't do that under Arthur Smith with Desmond Ridder. So I also like the move to get rid of Desmond Ridder. Just kind of forget everything that happened last year, anything that was negative. Let's move on, go for the forward.
Yeah,
I like it. I mean, Darnell Mooney, I do kind of think he was a little overpaid. We didn't really see him do anything last year, but to be fair, it was Justin Fields and then Bilbo Baggins. What was his name? I completely forget his name. It's some Hobbit name or something, but so I don't blame him for that, but I think he was a little overpaid. But they're loading up. They're going for it. I think they have a Super Bowl window, and I could totally see them winning one in the next couple of years if Kirk is healthy and recovers good. So
damn. Statement right there.
I think for me, it's more so right now they should be looking at divisional to NFC Championship. They were 7-10 last year. You could argue they're the most talented division in football outside of in the division I meant, and outside of quarterback. And they went 7-10 last year when they lost. They went 7-10 with Desmond Ridder and lost 6 games by 1 score. So when you have Kirk Cousins there, you at least if you go instead of 3-3 instead of 0-6, you're looking at a 10-7 team instead of a 7-10 team that wins the division there, and they can compete. As you guys have alluded to, that offense is loaded now, absolutely loaded. You've got Bijan, who's now not gonna have pressure on him to just be the guy because understandably so with Kyle Pitts underperforming a lot to the quarterback, Drake London not being as big of a threat due to the quarterback. You're worried more so about Bijan running because, sure, if Desmond Ridder's throwing for 320 and 2 touchdowns on us and we lose because of that, power to him. We'll allow Desmond Ridder he was throwing him 30 times. He's making 5 bad throws, capitalize on at least 2 of them, and your game's over. So I think Kirk Cousins goes there and makes them instantly a playoff team. They're going to be in one of the weakest divisions in football. The Panthers need a couple of years because they're in a complete rebuild unless they shock the world. It'd be a shock to me. You've got the Saints who are in a weird spot. They just have no money. So they're kind of rolling what they have. Derek Carr is not the Derek Carr of 3 years ago. And then the Bucks actually like them getting back Baker, 3 years, 100 mil. They got Mike Evans back. They're kind of running it back. And for the most part, that's what they had to do because they didn't have too much flexibility. And you couldn't just let Baker walk because of the pick that you have. Because you guys went to the divisional round, you would have had to get someone like Bo Nix, Michael Penix. And that's, for some people, that's reaching up a little bit. I know they're more so projected beginning of the second, late first, maybe. And with them, they're not exactly pro ready. So the Bucks I think they made the right decision getting Baker. He's deserved it. He's earned it. But I do like what the Falcons are doing there. I was a big fan of them last year. I think with Kirk Cousins added to them, they've moved themselves probably top 5 in the conference. You've got the Eagles, no order. You got the Eagles, Cowboys, 49ers. And then I think you can kind of argue probably the Rams and Lions would be actually those 5. And then probably next would be the Packers would be there. You'd have the Falcons there. The Bucks you have to give some respect to, depending on what Caleb looks like on the Bears or if they go Justin. I think they're going Caleb. Those are the questions. But I think you have the 5 best, and then like they're right there competing with the next 5.
He definitely raises your
I forgot
floor.
about Tyler Algier.
Yeah, I was going to say Tyler Algier is nice too. That's a great backup.
Yeah, he definitely raises your floor. My thing with free agency, we brought up Kirk's contract. Like, there's almost no point in bringing up the total money because no one almost ever makes their total money. Like, it almost doesn't even matter what your contract is. It's really hard to get in bad cap situations in the NFL because you can just cut people. So it doesn't really matter like it does in the NBA, or free agency doesn't necessarily tie you up like it does in the NBA. And if it does, it's for like 2 years. So free agency is very intriguing for that reason to me, because it doesn't matter as much in the NBA. And I think my shit is fucking up. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah,
You're fine.
All right, you still hear me? So that's interesting to me. And, like we alluded to with Cousins, it really essentially is a 2-year deal. I think it's 4 total, but it's going to end up probably being a 2-year deal. More if he does succeed. But I'm really skeptical about what level he can perform at. I think he'll be good enough to get him to the playoffs, maybe. But I still think that division is going to be tough with the Bucks, even with the Saints. Saints are just a weird ass team. They'll be good enough to compete in that 7, 8, 9 win range. Like, they got enough talent, but you just never really know what you're getting. On the same token, though, I want to hear. Go ahead.
I was gonna say with that contract thing, I think he got guaranteed 100, and then on the back end of that, when they know that, like the whole cap thing, so people don't get all their money, they get those incentives that don't get talked about. So if he does whatever, throw X amount of yards, get this many touchdowns, he's still getting another $5 to maybe $10 million bonus. You get all pro or stuff like that. So that's money on the side that's not necessarily part of that 180 that you still can make up close to it. That's the only difference about the NFL with all those incentives.
True. It's just oftentimes a lot of people don't. A lot of players don't end up making that.
And that's a lot due to injury and bad play. But you're right, Kyle. I mean, the NFL not for long, so you got a lot of people who get injured. So when you get those injuries, you get the years on your contract, you don't make the money that you can. But we are seeing a couple teams who have gone all in, or a team in particular that I'm thinking of that went all in and now is paying for it. Because cap, I know you're saying in some circumstances it does, but the cap definitely can shift it for a couple of years. We'll probably talk about that team in a little bit, but
I do want to add to your point, Keenan, when you said that they lost, you said they were 7-10 last year.
7-10, they lost 6 games by 1 score.
You know the last team that did that? Not to compare them to the GOAT, but that's when Tom Brady went to the fucking Bucks and won that Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was gonna say because they were set. I mean, that obviously they went from 7-9 because it was the last year of the 9, but they were the same kind of thing.
But they lost a lot of games by 1.
Obviously, Tom here coming in, Kirk here. But I know exactly what you're saying. You got that NFC South team in a weaker division, a bunch of talent everywhere else. You get your quarterback. I mean, we saw the Rams do the same thing the year after. We got talent everywhere. Let's go get us Matt Stafford to really game change for us. We go from what we are to winning a Super Bowl. So it's been a format. If you're not Patrick Mahomes over the last couple of years, like that's been a format for winning. So Falcons are kind of going on that trajectory.
Speaking of Achilles and speaking of quarterbacks, why aren't the Jets going after Tyron Smith?
Because the Jets don't make sense.
Yeah.
I want you to speak on this.
I mean, they got
Jets don't make sense.
They got the future vice president of America on their team, you know?
Yeah, they know Rodgers isn't going to be with them next year, so they don't need
why?
him anyways.
They said
got
fuck
Tyrod
the
Taylor,
offensive
they're
line.
good.
In the words of Adam Sandler and
Tyrod
Big Ben,
Taylor.
the goddamn Jets.
It's true.
Nah,
It's
man,
true. Jets go Jets.
Listen, I have no idea. If you would have, like, obviously, we did a prediction show last year. Timmy was super high on the Jets. I was pretty high on the Jets. Kyle, you were a little bullish on the Jets, but you still thought they were going to be a pretty solid team. I think you had them around 9-8, 10-7, roughly. You thought they're going to be a pretty solid team. If this is how the Aaron Rodgers tenure goes, it's just so fitting for the Jets to have this happen. It's more fitting than any other
Only
team.
the Jets.
Because like for this would be for the Cowboys, like if Aaron Rodgers went there, had a great regular season, and then for some reason malfunctioned in the playoffs again, like he like throws it to, like probably throws a stupid pick where he just kind of like throws it behind his back or something, would be like a Cowboys loss. Something stupid like that. The Jets are always going to be in this stupid situation like this.
He'll fumble taking a knee for the game winner and gets tucked back for a touchdown.
that would happen to the Cowboys. Yeah. That's exactly what happens.
It would be like a Dan Orlovsky situation would happen to the Cowboys in a big spot. Like they're up one. They're up one. It's 3rd and 1 at the 1 yard line. They drop back to pass, run out of the back of the end zone, lose by 1. That would be something that would happen to Dallas. You'd be like, oh my God. Well, of course it's the Cowboys. But it'd be fun. I'd love it.
You could have signed Derrick Henry.
Garrett Wilson needs to request a trade out of there.
He said they didn't even call. That's crazy. They didn't even call him.
One more quarterback topic, because we touched on it, but we didn't really talk about it. Russ to the Steelers.
Trash.
Trash. Okay, so I think it's just a perfect move in the sense of they're paying nothing. The Broncos are paying everything, and they've got Kenny Pickett. So like, I've been seeing on like ESPN like, will Russell Wilson be starting week 1? If Russell Wilson isn't starting week 1, cut him.
It's time to hang.
And I'm not kidding. If he can't beat out Kenny Pickett, cut him. You don't even need him as a backup. I don't care if Kenny Pickett gets it. You figure it out. Just cut him. If he better be your week 1 starter. But I think it's fine. You get a veteran guy in there who knows how to win games rather than Kenny Pickett, who is not good. You get a guy who's 26 touchdowns to 8 picks last season. Yeah,
there's no Kenny Pickett slander. He's perfect in the preseason.
Kenny Pickett was the 3rd worst quarterback on his own roster last year, and that was to Mason Rudolph and Mitchell Trubisky, who are backups on other teams right now. So there's that.
I can't believe y'all said that, Nick. He's still getting a check.
You talked about the Titans. You talk about the Titans. That's Mason Rudolph's Tennessee Titans now. So
if Mason Rudolph wins the job there, he's like Brian Callahan is either the quarterback whisperer or Will Levis sucks. That's what it comes down to.
I'm gonna go with the latter.
I'm taking the over under on this one.
Listen, he sucks. Timmy, what are your thoughts on Russell Wilson?
He's better than Kenny Pickett. So if you're trying to win games, you're trying to make your team better, he's an option. The way the contract was structured from Denver, if they were to cut him like they did this year and another team came in and paid him, it would offset the amount of money that they owed him. So it was smart that the Steelers only paid him $1.6 million. Let Denver handle the other 40. There's no point in paying him. He is an upgrade, 100%. You can't argue it. Last year, they were a fringe playoff team. They almost made it, and it was a shit show for
make
2 straight years.
You might as well had me at
The
quarterback.
Steelers are you talking about, or are you talking about the Broncos?
No, the Broncos. The Broncos.
Oh, I thought you were talking about
Russ.
Steelers. Sorry.
No.
Yeah.
With Russ, the Broncos were a fringe playoff team, 2 games out at most. People think Russ was just trash in his stint in Denver. Last year, he played pretty well. For what it's worth, he didn't have a great situation. He's a weird dude. Quarterbacks tend to be weird people, and he's one of them. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say he's not like weird, and he didn't cause a lot of chaos in that situation. But he was pretty efficient, scored touchdowns. They were in a lot of one-score games, beat a lot of teams that they shouldn't have beat, and now he's on a team that did that last year all season long without a quarterback. So I actually think that this situation could be really good, to where maybe they win 11 games this year. It's not going to happen, but it really would not shock me the way the NFL goes if they win their division next year. It really would not.
Nah, that would shock me. The Ravens are still in there.
It would surprise me a little bit.
That would shock me.
It would surprise me a little bit, but honestly,
just when I say the NFL, because nobody was saying the Bengals would finish with 9 wins this year, 7 wins, whatever. But things like the Joe Burrow injury happen. Maybe that's Lamar this year. Yeah. And then the Bengals lose one here, and then it's just like the Steelers are right there. They're always in it, and it might only take 11 or 12 games to get there. So I just think it's possible.
Russell Wilson upgrades them maybe a game or two, possibly.
Yeah.
Like, obviously going to – and, like, obviously there are certain games, like, during the season where they could lose what they won last year, whatnot. But Russell Wilson upgrades them a little bit. So if they go from 9-8 to 10-7 to even 11-6, that could win the division just because that division's so tough. Not really a spoiler. I think the Bengals should win the division next year. They're going to have the easiest of schedules next year because of the fact that they were the 4th team. They're going to have more draft capital. They kept T. Higgins unless they trade him. So I think that this team should be the division winner, but that's like right now. That's obviously way early prediction, and way more things can happen. But they should be just literally based off their easy schedule, the easy quote unquote schedule alone, because they're getting all the last place teams.
All right, so the Steelers' schedule for next year is Washington, Ravens, Bengals, Browns, Chiefs, Chargers, Cowboys, Giants, Bengals, Ravens, Browns, Denver, Raiders, Eagles, Falcons, Colts, Jets. I only see 5 wins up here.
Ooh.
That's a tough
I've got at least 8, and you can flip 3 of those, I think.
Close games, I only see 5 wins.
Probably,
and I think they bring Russ.
Division.
I think they bring Russ to have, like y'all said, a veteran person in there. And he might teach Kenny Pickett some things to make Kenny Pickett better. I also agree he should be starting. There's no reason he should be there if he's not starting. But I think with the contract thing too, I think they paid $38 million out of his. He's supposed to get paid 70, right, or something like that? 90.
85. It was 85 million total, and they split it up.
Yeah, I think the Steelers paid 38 when it's all said and done. But just still. I don't give. Like you just.
I thought he signed a 1-year deal.
Yeah, it was a 1 year.
Yeah, he's getting that $80 million from Denver.
Yeah. He's just getting $1 million. They basically get him for free. They're basically getting
exactly. He's just there.
I thought they broke it
on
down.
Denver's payroll.
No.
Okay.
Pittsburgh didn't have to pay anything. Denver took that cap hit.
Damn, that's money. That's money.
Okay, can
He
you
got a
guys say
better
one thing real
defense.
quick?
I just want to say.
Go on. No, you go.
I was just gonna say when I saw it, like to me, it was just like I was like, all right, cool. Like Russell Wilson signed with the Steelers, like it wouldn't like. Would I be shocked if my dog Kenny Pickles came out and started week 1 next year? Absolutely not. Like because Russ is getting older. Like he was. I agree with Timmy. He was actually pretty decent last year. I want to say he had like 3,500 yards, 24 touchdowns, 9 picks, something to the tune of that. But they did just trade away Deontay Johnson, which was a head scratcher for Dante Jackson. Like that was their best receiver. Like no disrespect to George Pickens, but like Deontay Johnson, I think is a better receiver overall. So they have a hole there, and then is TJ Watt going to be healthy? That's the other thing. Like is TJ Watt going to play all 17 games next year? So I could see it going 1 or 2 ways. I could see them winning 1 or 2 games extra than what they did last year. I could see them being a 7 or 8 win team again. To me, it wasn't really like a needle mover. I was just like, oh, cool, Russell's there, nice.
I just wanted to completely, now that it's officially capped, this is one of the worst trades in NFL history. The Broncos Seahawks trade.
Oh,
yeah. Now that it like
Definitely.
because out of nowhere, like what if the Broncos next year won a Super Bowl for some reason? Like not that we're going to, but like what if they did? We never know. Then you could be like, well, it worked out. Now that it's officially over, one of the worst trades, not even just NFL history, just ever. Terrible. Those are terrible trades. I mean, and the good thing is they may not have the worst trade of the last like 2 years or like 4 years because the Deshaun Watson trade happened. We're still seeing that unfold, but that might be even a worse trade. So like they might be overshadowed by the fact that the Deshaun Watson trade happened. So they'd be like, hey, we didn't have the worst trade, guys. We had one of them, but like not the worst.
I think Deshaun
Honestly,
back though.
It's more than just the trade. They've made mistake after mistake for the last 3 or 4 years. Trading for Sean Payton. Exactly. Nathaniel Hackett. Then they get Sean Payton in there, and Sean Payton right off the bat was like, I don't want Russ. He never wanted Russ. Why'd you go get him as your coach if he didn't believe in the quarterback that you just traded a boat for and a ton of money? Like, I don't understand where the GM has job security after that. Like, something needs to happen.
The Broncos are getting they're getting basically extended years of bad because they got Peyton Manning. Because Peyton Manning chose to go there. Because they weren't great prior to Peyton Manning. They haven't been, especially at the quarterback position, they haven't been good since Peyton Manning. Right. They've made bad decision after bad decision. But when you have one of the 4 greatest quarterbacks of all time choose, hey, I want to go here, get to 2 Super Bowls, win 1, I think win 2 MVPs, if not just 1. That you kind of can go over like, yeah, we got a Super Bowl in 15. Yeah, it was almost a decade ago, guys. Von Miller is not there anymore. I promise you that. Aqib Chain's taken to the league is no longer in the roster. Chris Harris Jr., not there either. CJ Bowling Ball Anderson, not there, guys. Like Demaryius Thomas, Julius Thomas, Wes Welker, nowhere to be found, guys. But like you can be like, we won the Super Bowl. Like, come on. But yeah,
I'll say this regarding the Broncos. They did have those couple years with Vic Fangio where they weren't bad. They were competitive. They were like a quarterback away, and then they just got rid of him.
They couldn't make. They can't make quarterback decisions. Like Peyton Manning, other than that, they can't make. Paxton Lynch has been their decision. Or
even then, he made that decision. The Broncos didn't make that decision. Peyton Manning.
They had Drew Lock, and that was like their peak since Peyton Manning. But
what are we talking about here?
Everything y'all said about the Steelers is 100% right. And Russ Wilson, like I agree with everything said in the last 10, 15 minutes about Russ, because you could tell me they're going to be a 5-win team, especially after the schedule Duke just read off. You could tell me they're going to be probably like at the most an 11-win team. That's still probably the toughest division in football with the Bengals, Browns, and Ravens. At the end of last year, if you would have asked me, like, where's Russ going, I would have said probably either the Steelers or the Pats, especially if Belichick was there. I would have said the Steelers or the Pats. So when I saw that he was going to the Steelers, it makes complete sense, especially with Tomlin there. They got a loaded defense. They still got weapons on offense. You really just needed someone to control the game. Russ can do that. If you can't protect him, though, he is going to throw the ball away. I think he has shown that he's more mistake prone than in Seattle. But I agree with Tim. I do think he played better last year. They did not set him up at all for the Broncos. So if you're gonna sell high on Russ right now, or if you're feeling like he's gonna have a great season, that would be why. Because he had fucking Nathaniel Hackett as his coach that first year, who's one of the worst coaches in NFL history. It's completely unfair to even compare Russ to anybody if that's your head coach that first season. And then the second season, like Tim said, Sean Payton didn't even want him. Do I think he's regrets?
Hey guys, they did have Joe Flacco.
A little bit.
They did have Joe Flacco, so we can't just say Drew Lock. They had Joe Flacco too.
They did have the god Joe Flacco. Rich off of Joe Flacco. But I mean,
Flacco in Indy now.
That was in the Colts to wreak havoc in the NFC South or AFC South. But do I think Russ has regressed? Absolutely. Do I think he can still make an impact? Do I think he'll be better? Yeah, I do. But That's the thing. Like we said, you just never know what's going to happen in the NFL. Like Tim said, they could win the division. They could be a dumpster fire. I don't think that's going to be the case though with Tomlin, but that still is a very tough division, tough conference in general. Go ahead.
I hope they win the division, to be honest with y'all. I think that would be a great story. And I think, I think it's like one of those things where you get motivated. Maybe you still had the talent, but Denver didn't have that talent. Now you're on a team with probably a top 5-4 defense now.
For sure.
Pushing 3. And you got Tomlin, and Mike Tomlin bring the best out of everybody.
That's true. And it's literally just keeping him upright. Like if he's going to have pressure, he's going to throw the ball away. He's going to get sacked. I think regardless, Kenny Pickett will be a used car salesman in about 2 years. That really doesn't matter. But Russ,
he's selling insurance, 100%
insurance. Is he door to door? Or is he calling?
He's
door to door.
He's selling life insurance,
and he's selling insurance on things nobody has. It's like antique clocks and things like that. It's just the worst.
He'll be filing the paperwork for my back surgery next year.
He's like, all right, Brandon, let's get you that money you deserve.
Yo, let's pick it.
Bad back, Branndon. Kyle Pickens. It's crazy.
He'll be here on the pod with us.
He graduated with a bachelor's in marketing. So he might do so insurance could be in that. He did go to marketing. So insurance could be in that. I do have a question for each one of you. It's going to be the same question, of course.
I thought it was going to be individual.
I should have done it.
Man, you get creative, my boy.
My bad, guys. I should have gotten individual questions next time. So obviously we talked about who had the best team overall. And obviously, we've talked about some of the biggest moves. What do you guys think, each one of you? I'm going to start Timmy. Who do you guys have the best move, just individual move? It can either be a signing, a re-signing, a trade, whatever. The best singular move of this offseason thus far in the NFL.
It's a really tough question. To be honest, I don't think the best move has happened yet. I think we're still going to see some crazy stuff because there's two people that have requested trades and are seeking trades. That's T. Higgins and L'Jarius Sneed. And I think if Sneed moves, I think that could be the biggest signing of free agency and trade, of course. But I really like the Kirk trade. Not worried about the injury. I think they're all in. They're ready to win now. So I would go with that.
Kirk Cousins. Kyle, how about you?
I would say Jim Harbaugh to the Chargers would be the best. I mean, he's going to be the face of the franchise. He's someone who's proven that you're not only going to win, you're going to contend. So he's someone who, if there's any franchise who needed it, I mean, besides the Jets, it's certainly the Chargers. It's definitely the Chargers. So, I mean, they just had no identity. They're just in LA, just kind of existing. LA doesn't really care about sports teams outside of the Lakers and Dodgers in general. The Rams kind of got it just because they got history, but really the Raiders are the team there. So the only way to really draw attention to yourself is get a coach like Harbaugh. And they got the quarterback. They've got talent still. They got defensive talent. They got offensive talent. We'll see what they do in the draft and such. It's funny. I mean, in the NFL, way more than the NBA, really way more than any sport, you could be a 10-win playoff team, and then your next year injuries affect you. And it's really for your benefit. Like you said, Keen, with the Bengals are going to have an easy schedule. They can tune up in the draft. Same with the Chargers. They can both be contenders immediately. I mean, the Bengals are anyway, but you know what I mean. They can turn their fortunes around immediately. So
it's what the Eagles did 2 years ago.
Yeah, the Eagles did it. They went ham in the draft, obviously. And but no, I would say Harbaugh for sure. Like as far as franchise changing, it could be Kirk. I mean, he's definitely going to be an automatic upgrade after Ritter and Mariota. But to me, it's Harbaugh.
Duke, how about you?
It's just this free agency or just an off season in general?
Off season in general. So like Kyle went back to a little bit before with
that's what I was going to say too. I was going to stay on the same wave and stay with a coach. And I think us signing AP for extended long time, we just changed the culture. We feel like we back to that gritty grime Raiders culture where it's just us against the world. And then signing my man's, was it yesterday or today? He just feels like he fits the part. Him and Matt Crosby gonna mess some people up
Christian
on that.
Christian
Wilkinson.
And
That was
then,
a
and
nasty
then you got I've been champion. Ask Kyle. I've been talking about Gardner Minshew for a minute now. Everybody keep thinking it's a joke. He the reason why the Colts made it to the playoffs. Like a lot of people still on Richardson, but he won. I want to say he won. Was it 8 out of those 9 games? 7 out of those last 9 games, or something like that.
They won a lot of games down the stretch. It came down to them in Houston that last week, and that was that came down right to the end too. It came down to a 4th and 1 play that almost happened.
I think that gives us a sneak peek for we don't really have to move up or try to grab a quarterback anymore. And if y'all let somebody's crazy slide like a Marvin Harrison Jr. or something else, besides that, I think we're going to draft O-line anyway. But if something amazing slides to us, I think that just changes everything. Now the locker room's excited. We beat the Chiefs that last game. Like everything's just like I said. I think we're going to win the division. So it just all starts from there, and we'll see how the ball handle after the draft.
He said
winning the division.
We're winning the AFC West. I don't know how y'all believe in the Chargers when they don't got Austin Eckler no more. Like
man,
I just believe in the Chiefs. I don't care about the Chargers. The Chiefs.
The Chiefs are taking a break. They only worried about the playoffs.
The Super Bowl 2 times in a row.
You got Minshew. They got Mahomes. They got Herbert.
Minshew.
I won with O'Connell. You think I can win with Minshew? Come on.
O'Connell looked like a chipmunk.
Yeah, he don't look like Minshew.
That don't really have shit to do with anything, but I don't think you can win with a quarterback who looked like a chipmunk, squirrel, whatever.
Looks like Theodore.
But we did though. We beat the Super Bowl champs with that chipmunk. He was Alvin that day. He wasn't a regular chipmunk.
That's the reason why I was so. That's the reason I was so off the Chiefs because of that game. The Raiders had fucking Mahomes and the Chiefs in a body bag, And
now I got a better line.
Yeah, you had to bet on Theodore. Branndon, what's your best move in the offseason for?
Hey, time out. I got breaking news. News for y'all.
Okay, I love breaking news.
Y'all ready for this? Bears acquiring wide receiver Keenan Allen.
Yeah.
In exchange for a
wow.
pick.
Yeah, right.
No.
The 4th?
Oh my God.
Austin, oh wow.
Talk that Charger shit now. Hold up, let me hear that Charger shit now. Hold up. Where y'all at?
On the West Coast is about to
3 and 14.
Where y'all at on this Charger talk? I thought I heard the Chargers was the second best team in the division. I swear that just flipped by the end of the pod.
Maybe.
Okay.
Well, they're going quarterback. It's not even a question. They're not taking Harrison now.
no, yeah.
Why not? I want a dynamic duo.
That's wild.
Hey, I got a question.
Dang, that's crazy.
After Keenan's done, I got a question specifically for someone.
Branndon, you go, then I'll go, then Kyle can ask his question.
Wow.
I got 2 moves. I would have thrown the Keenan Allen one in there. Keenan Allen's great, but he's getting old and he's got an insane contract. I want to see how that is. 2 moves. One, Josh Jacobs to the Packers. I understand they had Aaron Jones. I think Josh Jacobs is an upgrade.
Okay.
I think that's another playmaker for Jordan Love, and I think Josh Jacobs just kind of fits Green Bay a little bit better than Aaron Jones. And Aaron Jones wasn't really healthy. He's kind of been off and on with injuries the past couple of years. And then my second move, I'm going to be a homer again. I'm going to go with Eric Armstead to the Jaguars.
They got him on a good deal, too.
He's the 14th highest paid defensive tackle in the league this year now. He got 3 for 51. I want to say we had the highest or the second highest pass rushing duo in terms of sacks with Allen and Trayvon Walker, and then you put Eric Armstead in the middle. I mean, that's about as good as a three-headed defensive line that you're going to get. So I think that really kind of opens things up for Jacksonville because last year they lacked interior pass rush, and that was where a lot of their problems came from on defense and also stopping the run. So I think that's going to help out a lot. So that would be my second move.
All right. So I got 3. Real quick. The Patrick Queen one I just want to kind of highlight again. I really love that move for the Steelers just because it takes from someone you're competing with, helps you out. Linebacker, middle linebacker has been a spot that the Steelers have struggled with over the last few years now. That in second quarter, Joey Porter Jr. is really on an island by himself over there. When you bring Pat Peterson at this age up, you're not going to do great. So I think that Patrick Queen signing is really good. That's 1. 2, Danielle Hunter going to the Texans, 16.5 sacks last season. They're going to probably be looking to get defensive back help too in the draft. You already obviously got C.J. Stroud. You get Joe Mixon. You re-signed Dalton Schultz. You got Tank Dell, Nico Collins. So that offense is going to be good. You get some offensive line help, some secondary help. That defense is going to be really good. Plus you have D'Amico Ryans there, who's a defensive mind. And that defense made plays last year, especially towards the back half of the season. And then 3, Chris Jones. Chris Jones has been arguably the third most important person in this Chiefs dynastic run. It's our fourth if you want to count coach. Obviously, Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Chris Jones. Those have really been your 4 guys, and Chris Jones is the anchor of that defense, obviously all-pro first team last year. So I think that them re-signing him, because last year at this time there was contract disputes. You didn't even know if he was going to have a contract going into really the season, if he was going to hold out or not. They got that right. Got to 10 sacks last season. Obviously made great plays in the playoff run. So I think that getting Chris Jones on that defense, he's kind of the key to a lot, because when you get pressure up the middle, it changes everything. And every quarterback will tell you that. When you get pressure just right in your face comparatively to the outside, you can maneuver a little bit more, I think. So I think that Chris Jones getting re-signed by the Chiefs is going to be huge for them.
And because I didn't realize this, I do champion your Titans take now that I realized they got Calvin Ridley too.
Oh, you didn't realize they had Calvin? Yeah, they got Calvin on a big. Yeah,
Calvin's overrated.
No,
he took a year off, and he bet just like you. He's a more
Calvin's overrated.
Champion. You should be over there with Jersey.
He's 29. He's old.
He's 36.
I bet if we rewind this, week 1 last season after Calvin Ridley had over 100, he was singing a way different tune. He was like, that's what you have to give for. You weren't.
I got this on the record. I have a video from week 5, week 6. Christian Kirk is our best wide receiver, and that was in front of everybody that I watched football with. Christian Kirk was our best receiver last year before he got hurt. The reason why Calvin Ridley,
that's a lie. You know it.
I got stats
right now. The back of that shirt says Ridley right now.
Hey, don't.
You gonna make me turn around, man.
Don't do too much with your back. Don't do too much with your back.
Let's not do that. We don't need
an injury on camera.
He's gonna really slip a disc. Oh my god!
Y'all stupid.
I'm gonna mail my man a life alert.
Yo,
I'm falling and I can't.
Listen. You do need to call JG Wentworth for that back. 877 cash no.
It's my money and I want it now.
While we're talking about Branndon Petty statements on the record, Brandon, it was about, I've mentioned this a couple times in the last month or two.
Shout out to
it was about 5 years ago to the day, probably April. So 4 years and 11 months, we'll say. When you said, "Hey, I think Zion will," right? I think Zion Williamson's going to be a bust. Actually, you said it to me at IHOP that day. We randomly chopped it up about ball for like that long, and you told me you're like, "Think Zion's going to be a bust. Think the injuries are going to affect him, his weight, this and that." Me and Keenan both said you're crazy. I certainly thought you were crazy, and Zion's a productive NBA player. I think he's even been an All-Star maybe once, but he hasn't lived up to the hype we thought. You say in the group chat the other day. Go ahead, Keenan.
I just want to put this just to record for anybody who needs to go and just check to make sure this is a thing. If you go back to June 20th, 2019 on the YouTube channel, the Warner Brothas Podcast.
Was it June? I thought it was in April.
Zion bust ? We have Branndon on discussing if Zion is going to be a bust. Obviously, you know the answer because we already talked about it. It's in the 46 minutes in if you go into that description box. Just wanted to let everybody know.
Timestamps.
We got the timestamps and everything.
Timestamps, damn.
I got so much heat for that.
No, you really did.
We all thought you were crazy. Well, we all thought you were crazy.
How is he going to be a bust? But he was not supposed to be Wemby, but if Wemby's here, he was supposed to be this.
Yeah. He was supposed to be doing what Luke is doing right now. At least he was supposed to be in the playoffs, putting up stats. He's nice. He's nice. He's an all-star level player. He's an all-star level player. He was supposed to be an all NBA level player, which he still might be.
He's supposed to be averaging 25 and 12 minimum with like 4 dimes.
Exactly. He's exactly like Trevor. He's like Trevor Lawrence. He's still a good player, but he's not what we got sold. I say that, Brandon, to say you hit the WBP NFL group chat talking about how you think Caleb Williams is going to be a bust. Not only that, but that he's going to get in his own way. You think he's a diva. You think he's not going to be a good teammate. Maybe not good for the locker room. I want you to expand on those thoughts.
Okay, so same thing with the Zion thing. I totally eat this one 3-4 years from now if it comes back to bite me in the ass. I think Caleb Williams has all the talent in the world. I really
shout out Steph Curry. His day, March 14th. Just mark it down. Go. Shout out his Steph Curry's birthday today. Go
on. I think he's got all the talent in the world. I think he's got all the arm talent in the world. But I do think he's a diva. I mean, I really do. Like, not even with the whole combine thing. Like, I could care less about that. The interview, I kind of had a couple questions. The whole, kind of cockiness with turning on the tape and stuff like that. Like, we get it, bro. Like, congrats. But I think there's a good chance that he's going to be toxic. A guy that thinks he knows everything, a guy that, just thinks he can make every throw in the book, and he can't, from what we've seen at USC, he can. But USC quarterbacks don't translate well. USC also hasn't really played any good SEC caliber defenses, or defenses that that your other, your Joe Burrows, your guys like that they play against, that they translate well to the NFL. I think he's going to get in his own way. I think he's very egotistical. And I think he's going to want to come in and do it his way. I think it's going to be his way or the highway. So I don't necessarily think he's going to be a bust talent-wise. I think he would be more so a bust because of like his mental makeup. Just like the way he thinks that he's the guy and that nobody can tell him this and nobody can tell him that. And then I also think the USC thing could play a little bit of a factor with that. I think the only USC quarterback that really panned out was Carson Palmer, and then maybe Mark Sanchez, if you want to count, the first 3 or 4 years that they made the AFC championship games.
Sanchez.
Yeah. So, yeah.
One of the most iconic plays of all time.
The butt fumble.
That's true. That is true. That is most definitely true.
So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if 3 or 4 years from now, Caleb Williams is a good NFL quarterback, but he hasn't hit that, that generational, face of the NFL MVP ceiling. I could see a world where he is, a Kirk Cousins type, a good enough to make a Pro Bowl here and there. But if you're talking, the terms that are thrown around for this cat, best quarterback prospect in the past, 5-10 years, like, let's pump the brakes a little bit, we saw what happened with Trevor Lawrence. Like, here we are, we're going into year 4 and he's not as good as what he was billed. Let's pump the brakes on that, because you really set these kids up for failure when you do that. Look at Zion. I mean, Zion was, at that point, they were hailing him as the greatest basketball prospect since LeBron James. And I mean, he's nowhere near the level of LeBron James right now. So, I think it's unfair, because, you put these labels on these college kids, and then we have to have discussions like this, which is unfortunate, because, it's these guys' jobs at the end of the day,
Yeah.
I have 2 retorts to that, and I want y'all to respond. We'll get to you too, Duke. Actually, Duke, go ahead before I
let Tim go. Tim looked like he was about to say something. Oh, I thought he was about to say something.
No.
Nervous?
I was just gonna say, for real, let's just chill up with the whole, bus slander, even for the both of them. Because, all right, let's put it this way: if Zion becomes an Andrew Wiggins, who was considered a bust before them championships, or is he still a bust?
Yes. Because of what he was talking about.
To what we were sold. To what we were sold, yes, but literally no.
The expectation of potential, you're saying?
Expectation.
basically. And I don't think Zion's a bust necessarily, but I think it's much like a Trevor, like I said, Trevor Lawrence, where we didn't get what we're sold so far. But he's still got a lot of.
But that one too, even with that, I was gonna say, can't call that a bust because look what Peyton Manning did in his first couple of years before he actually became that. He was he was 4 and like 10s and throwing mad picks and doing all this other stuff. Trevor Lawrence won playoff game. Trevor Lawrence did a lot of things that are moving forward with kind of less talent. He never had a dynamic. He never had an all-time wide receiver as somebody to throw to. Peyton had Marvin Harrison. Then he got Reggie Wayne. Then, you know what I'm saying? Like, then his tight ends was nice. Like, Peyton had stuff. He even had Edward James, and everybody wanted to discredit him like he was one of the top 10, 15 backs.
Hall of Famer.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
Good point.
it's at the same discrepancy. I can't just let y'all just keep slandering them. And also, since Keenan giving out birthdays, happy birthday, Albert Einstein, Pie Day, go get you a free pizza or discount off, or go get you a Granny Smith apple pie. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. So I just want to quickly say this before you guys go on of just talking about bus. I agree, Duke. They're not busts for people. Like, Trevor Lawrence isn't a bust. He is around a top 10 quarterback at this moment in time. If you have him at 8, if you have him at 12, 13, wherever you have, that's your argument. That's pretty much the range for him. He's clearly a starter. He's clearly a guy that most teams are going to want to have. 2/3 of the league would want to have him. So, like, moving forward, he's not like a bust of, like, he can't play. He's not like Ryan. I was about to say he's not Ryan Leaf, where he just can't play. Zion, I was going to say Zion's averaging 25, 6, and 4 for his career right now. 6 rebounds is kind of a little tough. Like, you're too big for 6 rebounds. Like, I understand you're shorter, but like Barkley could do it. You could figure it out. Draymond can figure it out. You should probably be able to figure out to get a little more than 6.
Marquise Brown,
like so
cheese.
Zion.
Ooh.
I don't want to say I said that he was going to go there a little bit ago, if we remember this, but I did. I don't want to say I said Marquise Brown's going to go there, and you guys like, I don't really think it matters. Like, I don't think he'd really be good there. Just want to say that. Anyways, but Zion's been playing very well, of course, and this year he's been playing really well. It's just the fact that he's been missing a lot of games. He obviously hasn't contributed to any playoff success because he hasn't even touched a playoff game yet. So that's the thing with Zion. He's already 4 years in, and we know more from Mariah Mills in his game. So it's like,
guns and buns, baby.
Yeah. Okay, staying on this concept too with Caleb, do y'all think like with the NIL deals, them getting that much money now, that like you said, that ego and that diva kind of outlet, like immediately I don't want to play for the Bears, has something to do with me playing harder and like all these other things?
Absolutely, because these guys can. So here's the thing. I know a guy right now that's at the University of Florida. I'm not going to go into details on NIL and stuff like that. I know a couple of tidbits about NIL and whatnot, but these kids are getting, ridiculous contracts. There was a kid that committed to the University of Florida last year by the name of Jalen Rashada. Ended up going to ASU. It was messy. Report surfaced that he had an NIL deal upwards, I think it was 8 million or 10 million plus.
Yeah, right.
I mean, these kids are getting millions and millions of dollars. That's why they're not declaring, for the draft, because, why pass up on that money? All you got to do is go to school for another year. So yeah, they're going to be.
A rookie contract's only $250K.
Yeah, and it shows because with the transfer portal, and not to get into college football and the landscape of that, but to be quick and brief, the transfer portal is the highest bidder. That's all college football is now. It's free agency. Who can pay me the most money? And that's when you start getting into, okay, I want to play for this team and that team and that team. Like, no, you're going to fucking play for whoever drafts you. Like, that's how it's been. Yeah. That's how it's always been.
Yeah. So, and to piggyback on that, I was actually talking about it. Like, I think it's bittersweet in a sense, because I do think that certain kids of higher ilks are taking advantage of it. Like, when you're talking, I was talking with a guy named Andrew, shout out Andrew. I was talking with him today. Like, it would be criminal right now. Caitlin Clark has put so much notoriety on women's basketball, on Iowa. Like, everyone's wearing Iowa 22 jerseys, whether it has Clark on the back of it or not, and then she doesn't get any money for that. like when the Fab Five were doing their thing and they didn't get anything from that, like it obviously boosters, things like that illegally, but like, I mean, obviously the NIL deals are clearly legal. So when you see things like that, you're like, these athletes at a certain level, they're making so much money for these universities, they should be getting paid. But then at the same time, as you have in everything, you're going to have the 5 to 10% of people who try to ruin it for the 90% of people because they're just going to act a fool and be like, oh, well, I can do whatever. I don't want to go here. I want to go here. I'm going to do whatever I want to because X, Y, and Z. And so, like, going back to the Caleb portion of it, it is a little telling because you don't want your quarterbacks to be Odell. Odell can be Odell and not be detrimental to teams because, like, I don't think he was ever detrimental in my personal opinion. I think people overblew what he did, but
besides
like,
the yacht parties.
Yeah, the yacht party.
Infamous yacht.
The yacht party. The only reason why that mattered, he dropped a couple balls in a fourth down ball. But
well,
like
both yacht parties because the Ravens went too before the Chiefs game and.
But I don't think like you.
Giants were pretty eager to get rid of him. I will say that. So.
Yeah, no, they were, but like I think since the Giants, he's been a perfectly fine teammate, and I think that I do think that he was a little much, and definitely definitely that one of the higher class divas, but I don't think he was Terrell Owens kind of thing, like where he was like actually like. No, that's my point. Like T.O. is one of those guys that you could actually see dividing locker rooms. I don't think Odell was dividing locker rooms. I just think sometimes Odell was really me-centric and really just like one for the camera, so it could kind of distract the team. But like
T.O.'s the MJ of fucking diva receivers.
Yeah,
for sure.
But no, I didn't mean to get you off your point because you had something going there.
No, you're good. But you just don't want your quarterbacks to really be that. You need your quarterbacks to be level-headed. That's why when I pointed it out, like CJ Stroud, when he was talking at the Celebrity All-Star game, he was just talking like, yeah, I'm just going to be doing here what's best for my team to win. And this is at a Celebrity All-Star game when you could just be talking and doing whatever and no one's going to say anything. I looked at it, I was like, it just feels like a guy. Like, that's just, I want to play for him. Like, I want to play under him. Like, the way Mahomes talks, the way Joe Burrow talks, the way Lamar Jackson, like, they just have like such exude confidence. And it doesn't mean you can't be flashy or do what, like, we know Joe Burr or whatever Lamar's wearing or whatever. Like, you can be flashy, but like when you get to a level of spoiled arrogance, and it's like, I don't know if I want that leading my team. But then you also have the extreme talent, so you can't like pass up on it. But at the same time, it gives you a little like, I don't know about it. I guess I get what you're saying, Branndon.
I do want to clarify something on that. I'm not hoping that Caleb Williams is a bust, and I'm not saying that he's going to be a bust talent-wise because, like I said, I think he's got all the arm talent in the world.
Of course.
Like I said, more so the Memphis side. So, you know.
The locker room's half the battle. Like if you're going out there alienated, like I mean, unless you're going to be Adam Sandler in The Longest Yard and like 4th and 15, go get it, and then like go get it and then try to win them back. Like you've got to do something like that to get the locker room back. But like no, you're absolutely right. The locker room's half the battle. If you get guys to go to bat for you, you see it all the time. Like Marshawn Lynch, when he didn't get the ball, that just broke the locker room because everyone in the locker room rode for Marshawn Lynch. The entire defense. That broke that whole Legion boom in 3 years, the entire defense was gone pretty much in 3 years. So like, you just see things like that. The locker room matters, and I get what you're saying. I don't think he's going to be a bust. I think sometimes the talent could just supersede that kind of stuff. But I get what you're saying because of the fact that like it makes sense.
It's just concerning for me. Like very.
I think he's doing the Eli Phillip Rivers move. That's all.
I will say
that's fair.
I agree with what Duke just said, but you guys do raise a good point. Like he is doing the Eli Phillip Rivers thing, but then you do got to add in the NIL money, which I guess you could say doesn't really matter because everyone was still getting paid back in the day too. But this is more obscene money. This is real pro money that they're getting.
10 million at 7.
Even Johnny Manziel wasn't getting this kind of money when he was at Texas A&M.
Do you know what Johnny would have? I was going to say, Johnny was talking on the Club Shay Shay. What he would have done with NIL?
He would have got 50.
God.
Brandon, I'm glad.
Drake before his junior year. Like,
Brandon, I'm glad you brought up
that Bama game.
I'm glad you brought up Johnny Manziel. Because I was really trying to think. I'm like, who can I compare him to that's really came out? And he hasn't been like in the limelight like Johnny Manziel, but that is probably his best comparison because Johnny Manziel really thought highly of himself to the point where he didn't even look at the playbooks. But I do want to add to the point where you said like USC quarterbacks, they don't pan out. And I'm going to start with Tim here when I ask this because Tim's been a little quiet. Got to get Tim involved, pass him the rock.
Tim likes to just let every other people talk and then doesn't like to interrupt. So he just likes to stay cool, calm, and calm. But he can interrupt whenever he wants to.
But Tim has good points when he talks. That's what makes it funny.
Tim knows his shit.
Like,
Tim knows his shit. I don't watch college football like probably everyone else here does, at least peek in on it. I don't even peek in on college football. What I did hear, though, was that they had some of the worst offensive line play in all of Division I football. I don't know if that's true or not, but, people that know way more than me would say that. So with that being the case, is this going to be a case where he has a decent offensive line and we're going to see him go the fuck off? That's my first question. Then I have a follow-up to that. So go ahead, Tim.
We're talking about Caleb Williams here?
Caleb, yeah.
Caleb as if he's a Bear or as if he's on a good team with an offensive line?
We'll say it as if he's a Bear. Either or, but as a Bear.
I think if he's a Bear, he's scrambling. Like, their offensive line's not that good. So I think he is going to run or at least extend plays, which is kind of like what he did good, but he does make some interesting decisions when he does that because he likes to extend a little too long sometimes, and then he puts himself in a really bad position where a lot of his picks come from. So the ceiling, of course, it's like really high. I'm worried that he's Trevor Lawrence because if he's Trevor Lawrence, that's like a failure. So even with a good O-line, because what you're saying, like what you brought up earlier with Zion being like quote unquote a bust because we were sold LeBron and we got whatever. We've been sold way better than Trevor Lawrence. That's all they're talking about. They're saying generational, Andrew Luck.
We've been sold Mahomes. We've been sold Mahomes and Rodgers.
Exactly. So if we get Trevor Lawrence, this is a failure, no matter what, because this is the number one pick, and you can't get that. You need to get Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah,
out of all
I have a quick question that's going to feed off of his play style, kind of like the way he extends plays, kind of does that. Quick question that will feed into what Kyle just asked too. If he is Josh Allen after 4 or 5 years, is that a failure? Josh Allen's been in a couple Pro Bowls, hasn't won an MVP, hasn't been in the run. Literally, he's only been to one AFC Championship game. If he's Josh Allen after 5 years, that's a failure.
Is he Josh Allen right now, or is he Josh Allen's career? Because the first 2 years in Allen, he was. No,
not. I mean like if you see him hasn't been won an MVP after 5 years. This is like once he signs his next deal, hasn't won an MVP, has been to one AFC Championship game. Got a couple Pro Bowls. We think of him a top 5 quarterback. Do you feel like that's not a buzz because like obviously not a buzz. That's not a buzz because anyone would take that career. Yeah. Anyone would take Josh Allen is right now.
I'm going to say no to buzz. Yes to let down. That's still a letdown.
Yeah, I agree with that because in plenty of other drafts, the number one QB taken off the board isn't a top 20 QB in the league. Like looking at like Baker Mayfield's draft class. Baker is now like the best QB of that, maybe, well, Lamar, obviously, but like he was the number one pick and he's like right around maybe the 15th best quarterback in the league right now. So if he's top 5, I wouldn't say that's a bust at all. I would say, they probably did good. No. If anything, that means the Bears are probably winning double-digit games every year if they have Josh Allen on their team, I would say. So I wouldn't say that that's necessarily
so then how y'all gonna
failure.
Say T. Lawrence a bust? Because he's essentially, Trevor Lawrence. Because
because they haven't done anything. They won one playoff game against the worst coach in the NFL. Like, of course they're going to win that playoff game.
Here's my thing about Trevor Lawrence as a Jaguar. I'm going to give you an honest perspective with me being a Jaguar fan on Trevor Lawrence. Okay, as a Jaguar fan, what we were sold is the best quarterback prospect since Andrew Luck. Okay, so that's the first thing. Yeah, and it's not Peyton Manning. Okay,
but I'm just saying he's Caleb Williams before Caleb Williams. What y'all saying? Like Caleb's getting compared to P. Holmes, like getting compared to Andrew Luck before the neck. Andrew Luck was still that dog.
And then you compare. You have a graphic with Trevor on your left hand side. You've got Peyton Manning on your right hand side. Okay, you're comparing him to one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, and you're sitting here selling something that. Let's be honest, we haven't gotten it so far. Trevor Lawrence is not a bust. I don't think he's a bust. I think he's a great quarterback. I think he could be a top 3 quarterback in the league. We just haven't seen it yet. Okay, it could be Urban Meyer could have set him back a year or two, whatever, because that was a whole fucking fiasco. But
Absolutely.
Trevor Lawrence was a letdown because you're being sold that, hey, by year 4, we're expecting this guy's going to be Peyton Manning level, Andrew Luck level, throwing for almost 5,000 yards, throwing for 35, 40 plus touchdowns a year. He hasn't cracked 25 touchdowns. He hasn't cracked.
That's crazy.
think he barely cracked 4,000 yards this year, and that's part of him, but it also falls back onto the Jacksonville organization too, because Trent Baalke is a shitty GM. And up until this past year, they haven't really done the best with, surrounding them with talent. They did with receivers, but in terms of offensive line, they had one of the worst offensive lines last year. I don't care who you are at quarterback. If you have 1 second to throw, it doesn't fucking matter. Patrick Mahomes couldn't even get it done in the Super Bowl against Tampa Bay. So if you don't have an offensive line, it don't matter who you are.
100%. 100%. Follow up to that, because we kind of touched on it just barely. I mean, the Pats got the number 3 pick. This is the first time in my lifetime where I've had a lottery pick essentially for a quarterback, right? I'm nervous as hell.
It's just funny to think that we've been 26 years. I've been 26 years, and this is the first time this has ever happened. Yeah. It's just a great feeling. Yeah. It's phenomenal. It really is.
Yeah. And Tim and Keenan will know this. The entire year I've been saying, take Marvin Harrison and go get a vet quarterback. I don't care. At least you know what you're getting out of someone like fucking Minshew and Russell Wilson. I don't know what I'm getting out of these top 3. Now, obviously, Caleb's the most talented out of them. I say that to say it's still a crapshoot. And if, let's say it goes 1, 2, 3, let's say it goes in some order, Caleb, Jaden, and Drake May, right? Caleb's obviously going number 1, but whoever gets taken 2 and 3 doesn't matter. Let's just say it's 3 quarterbacks taken. There's no way in hell all 3 are going to be successful. You can't tell me in 3 years that all 3 are going to be starting, all 3 are going to be in playoff contention even. One of them, and probably almost certainly 2 of them, is going to be a bust. A bust in the fact that you're a backup quarterback. You might even be out of the league, whatever. Do you guys agree with that? Or do you guys think this is a rich quarterback class, all 3, da-da-da? How do you feel? Because I feel like I'd much rather the Pats, just speaking as a Pats fan, take Marvin Harrison Jr., go get some vet QBs. What do you guys feel when it comes to Brissett? When we got Brissett? That's true. We did just get Brissett. I do like that.
You might get Marvin Harrison Jr. for real.
I would duly appreciate that, but I'm not sure if that's going to happen. I don't even use duly like that. That's how you know that's what I want. But I just think the quarterback in general in the NFL draft is a fucking crapshoot, an absolute crapshoot. And the only one I would feel at all confident about is Caleb Williams at this point.
I agree. So I think if you're going to me personally, I think all 3 of them are great. I think all 3 of them have amazing potential. But if I'm going to pick one that has, if you're going to say the most bust potential, I think it would be Drake May. Just because the fact I watch a lot of college football. I watch more college football than what I do NFL. Drake May was there was some, he's got great tape. He's got a great arm, but there were games at North Carolina where he just disappeared and their offense couldn't get anything moving. So he scares me. I like Jaden Daniels the most. I think I like him more than I like any other quarterback in this class. That could be a little bit of SEC bias. And the reason being is because I watched him his freshman year at Arizona State when I think Herm Edwards was the head coach. He was there with Johnny Wilson, with Ricky Pearsall. He had Rashad White there on the team with him. As a true freshman quarterback starting at Arizona State, a lot of people came out at the end of that year and they're like, hey, who's this Jaden Daniels cat? We need to keep an eye on him. Shit went south at Arizona State. He goes to LSU. He balls out at LSU. It's the Joe Burrow. The same thing. Joe Burrow's first year at LSU wasn't great. Okay. Joe Burrow's second year, throwing to Jamar Chase, to Justin Jefferson, Jaden Daniels comes out. He's throwing to Brian Thomas, Malik Neighbors. And then also, he's got the running ability. I understand I think the only concern with him is his frame. I think he's going to bulk up, but I think Drake May has the most bust potential. He scares me the most. I wouldn't feel super confident if I had to take him at 3. I agree with Kyle. I'd rather take Marvin Harrison at 3. Or Malik Neighbors or Roma Dunze.
Yeah. So as a Patriots fan, I've been thinking about this a lot. Obviously, if for God-forsaken reason Caleb Williams fell to 3, you take Caleb Williams. Duh. I personally very much so want Jaden Daniels. I think that Jaden Daniels is the guy for us. And a big thing for me in college is completion percentage. And over the last 2 years since he's been at LSU, it's been 69 and then 72% this year. Drake May was at 65% pretty much for his collegiate career for the most part. And a lot when it gets tougher, there's a lot of games 50% completion percentage, a couple under 50, like right above 60, and that makes me nervous because the windows are smaller. And with Drake May, as you were saying, I don't watch as much college football as you do, but I've been tuning into it more and more, especially now since the draft actually matters to me. When I have the 28th pick, I'm like, okay, I'll research the guy when we get him. But now that the draft actually matters, like the top picks, honestly, I'm like, let me look into these people. And Drake May has a lot of arm talent. It's kind of Josh Allen in the sense.
Josh Allen, Justin Herbert.
A lot of Josh Allen, and I say Josh Allen because Josh Allen had some completion percentage problems too at a mid-level college. Obviously, I'm trying not to North Carolina, but like not like a high.
I'm still listening.
I'll say not a true. Okay, Alabama, LSU, Ohio State, that kind of real like school. So it kind of makes me a little nervous there because I don't know what Gerard Mayo's going to be as an offensive mind and how this offense is going to be. I think someone like Drake May, if I was the 49ers, and I would have a chance to be like, okay, you get Kyle Shanahan, or you're the Packers, you get Matt LaFleur, you get Rams, you get Sean McVay, you get like these offensive gurus who really know what they're doing 100%. I'm like, okay, we're good there. But when you're like D'Amico Ryan's getting CJ Stroud, who was already, you can tell just way poised and polished, and really you just need to work on him a little bit with just like making sure he understands the game plan and things like that, rather than having to teach him a little bit more so of the game. Obviously you teach him, but like, you know what I mean? You naturally have poise. Yeah. So that's kind of where I'd love to go Jaden Daniels. But the thing is, with Russell Wilson gone, with Kirk Cousins gone, I don't want to trade for Justin Fields. At this point, I don't love just going Jacoby Brissett for a year. Could it work? Could we go 8-9? Sure, 9-8. But that's not your future option. And then you just get put back in a position where you're going to try to find – you're either going to have to pay heavy money for someone like Dak Prescott in free agency, or you're going to have to just try to find a gem at 15. And I don't like doing that because rookie quarterback deals are what helps win the beginning of Super Bowls. We've seen it with everybody. You go on that run when your quarterback is cheap and they're really good.
Response to that, just on the Pats tip, Mac Jones, we didn't take because he was the best, or we basically took him because he was the best QB available. I don't think that's necessarily the QB they wanted originally. And I think whoever they get at 3, that would be the case. I'd almost rather see them take a couple QBs late, whether it's mid first round or, if you got someone like Penix later. I don't know if he's going to go in the first round, second round. Y'all would know better than me.
They could get him in the second round. Yeah. They could probably get him in the second round with their second round pick, sit him for a year behind Brissett, get Marvin Harrison Jr. That would be another option, but like
I would like that. Get him and get another QB in the fourth round. I think Daniel's going to the Commanders. Otherwise, that would be my pick. But if it's Drake May who falls to us, I'd rather them get Penix maybe in the second round and then get another QB in the third or fourth. Nothing wrong. I mean, I've said it here time and time again. There's nothing wrong with having as much quality QBs in your QB room as possible. I actually think we talked about this in the group chat at one point too. I'd love to see a Fields Caleb Williams QB battle. That'll tell you everything you need to know about Caleb Williams and Justin Fields right there. Yeah. I'll tell you everything you need to know. And you got yeah, exactly. And exactly. You'll have a trade piece in one of them, probably Fields, but that'll tell you everything you need to know about your rookie QB coming in and how he handles that QB competition, or Fields if he's the guy.
Timmy, what's your thoughts on that? I'm actually interested. I'm interested to know what you think.
On what he just ended with, or with the Patriots debate we were
Both.
just talking about?
Both.
I've been a Fields believer. You guys know that for the whole time that Fields has been in the NFL. So
yes,
I've always been under the mindset of let's trade this first overall pick and just get more talent around Fields. I think now that they've traded for Keenan Allen, they've basically told the world we're getting a quarterback and he's either our backup or we're going to get nothing for him and some team's going to come in. Low key, I hope the team that comes in and gets Fields is the Giants. I think we just send off a cheap pick at late and let him run it for a year and let Daniel Jones just contract expire and cut him or whatever.
Damn.
I actually believe that Fields could put up a battle with Caleb Williams. He had a pretty decent year when he was healthy last year. So I really do think it would be a battle, and people would be like, you just took the quarterback first overall and you're not going to start him week one, but like that happens. So that with the Patriots conversation, if they don't get Jaden Daniels, if it's Drake May at 3, you take Marvin Harrison because Drake May's not going to succeed throwing to Hunter Henry or Kendrick Bourne. Or they need to trade for T. Higgins, or they need to get somebody there that can establish separation and make it so Drake May can actually complete some passes. So if they don't get that, they're getting Marvin Harrison, and then they're going to play this roulette next year when we get another Heisman quarterback, and maybe they have a pick in the top 10.
Get Shedeur Sanders next year. Listen, I'm fine with that, to be quite honest with you. It's always scary for me when you have a team at like 8 and 9, 9 and 8 every year, because then you really have to hit in the draft. Now, you always have to really hit in the draft, but sometimes you get people who are like, okay, this should be as good as possible, but then obviously you have to play, and that's what the thing with the NFL draft. But obviously you want to predict, and you want to see what they do, and you obviously get the best players early on, hopefully. But so that's always the hard thing, especially at quarterback. But I do agree, if Jaden Daniels is there at 3, absolutely take him. I think that I want that. Or if you really want him that bad, you may be able to move up to 2. Like, you could possibly move up to that 2 spot for him, depending on if the Commanders are fine getting Drake May. And then, if not, I do agree. After watching Marvin Harrison Jr. I want him. I want both of them. But like the Jaden Daniels, I think helps a little bit more going forward because I really have faith in him. But if not, get Marvin Harrison Jr. I'll buy a jersey draft night. Like I really will. I'm not even kidding you. I'll buy the picks in the 805.
You don't get those every day. You gotta just bite the bullet with that type of talent. There's nothing else like it out there.
I'm fine with listen, we'll he might make a quarterback want to come play in New England. Like, people want to go play with Justin Jefferson. Like, that guy's pretty good over there. We'll go see what he's like. If Marvin...
That's a crazy thing is, like, he should...
Man.
Like, he's the biggest sure thing in this draft. Like, he should go number 1. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, the fact that he'll even get to 3 is insane.
He might get to 4.
If he goes number 1, that'd be the most best thing that happened for the Bears. Because then you show faith in Justin Fields. You just got Keenan Allen. You get freaking Marvin Harrison. You got a 1A and a 1B.
That if they did, I think with that Keenan Allen trade, they've just said they're not getting him because they have DJ Moore there too. If they did, though,
that's what I mean. That's
all out.
Let me give you that hypothetical, though, because Tim brought it up, and Tim brought it up during the season 2, and Duke just alluded to it. Let's say they kept Fields, just for the sake of bringing this up. They keep Fields. They trade that number 1 pick for a haul, because someone would trade a lot for that. Imagine that. So let's say they get Harrison and Fields, and you get, 3-4 picks and some players? You'd get a first-round in return?
Two or 3 first rounders.
They're getting more than the deal they got last year for the first overall pick, which was 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and a wide receiver. So you're getting 2 firsts, probably 2 or 3 seconds, maybe a third.
4 first, depending on where.
Well, I'm thinking they add a player in. I'm thinking somebody's sending some sort of defensive piece that's worth.
And with what Fields gave you those last 5 games, what Fields gave you, like some true progression. Like he looked as good as he has. Like won you some games, played well, went toe to toe, did not hurt you as a player like he did, in past seasons and early on last season. I mean, to me, that honestly seems like the no-brainer. That might be what I would have done. But we could be talking about a true contender here if they went that route with Harrison, with Fields, and a ton of talent coming back for Caleb Williams.
We can talk about it both ways too.
Meaning like a the contender other team that traded for him?
What I mean, two things. One, depending on who trades for him, yes. And two, you could talk about if Caleb is just C.J. Stroud with what they've done with their roster, they could absolutely be a playoff contender for sure next year. Like they were a playoff contender this year. And Fields missed some time. Like they were a playoff contender towards the end of the season. If they get Caleb Williams and he can at least be what C.J. Stroud was, which I'm saying that I know C.J. Stroud had one of the better rookie seasons we've ever seen, but the fact of the matter is he should be doing that if this is how we're talking with him. You've got Cole Kmet, you've got Keenan Allen, you've got DJ Moore, you're gonna probably get another back,
DeAndre Swift.
As I say, they got DeAndre Swift. You might get another guy to go along with that. I know they have Roshan Johnson. You might get someone else too to go along with it. But you should be what that was already. So they should be playoff contenders regardless of the move, as long as Justin Fields is there. I'm looking at teams right now, interestingly enough, to be who would trade. If it was I'm just thinking would the Commanders move up a pick? If they did that, that's probably 2 firsts, 2 seconds. Marvin Harrison. I don't know if they would move up. I don't know if the Patriots move up, and then I also don't know Marvin Harrison Jr. gets past 4. So I think you'd have to trade it.
If he's there, Arizona's taking him.
Yeah, so Arizona's going to take him. So that's the thing. So you'd have to trade. It'd have to be the Patriots, and so the Patriots would give up probably 3 firsts, 2 seconds, and then someone like Kyle Duggar would be your trade.
I'm even thinking if the Vikings actually do something and just give up the house just to keep Justin Jefferson happy. Because he's going to the Bengals either way, I feel like.
If
not that, what do you do?
Justin Jefferson they can't afford T. Higgins. If Justin Jefferson went to the Bengals, it might be over for the league.
He's going to the Bengals. This is a guarantee, bro.
They can trade for the Falcons.
Bro, trust me, they're gonna find a way. Somebody's gonna reconstruct their deal. We're gonna reconstruct somebody. Joe Burrow and Chase is gonna be like, nah, I'll take 20 mil less. Get my boy over here.
You gotta pay Jamar Chase first, and he's. But I'm saying
we're gonna reconstruct.
20 mil's not enough. They gotta take 40 mil.
Boy coming over here. He's coming over here.
Got paid $23 million a year. Jamar Chase should be getting 35 at that rate.
I'm with you, but do I want to win a Super Bowl?
Jefferson's at 40.
Jefferson's going to be a Viking.
50 million.
Jefferson's going to be a Viking. T. Higgins is going to be a Bengal at the end of the day, and I think Snead's going to be a Chief at the end of the day. I don't see any of these dudes getting traded.
Y'all hear here first. Breaking news.
When the Bengals go and draft Brock Bowers at 12, they're not going to worry about another second guy.
I do got to
go and draft Brock Bowers at 12. They're going to be fine because when you have that tight end with that receiver outside, T. Higgins can get traded. I understand T. Higgins really good. You can fill in that number 2, but you can go sign Mike Williams and go trade T. Higgins. You can go fill in that number 2. If you have Brock Bowers and Jamar Chase, you'll be okay. And you got Burrow. You're fine.
Besides the Pats, the Vikings, even the Broncos and everything we just said, just to throw a wrench out there, would the Cowboys do it to get rid of Dak?
The Cowboys would have to give up so much.
No, you wouldn't. You got to give up Dak.
No, but
I wouldn't take Dak for a top 5 pick.
For Caleb?
I'm not taking Dak Prescott.
Why would the Bears want, if they're trading this pick, they don't want a quarterback. They're rolling with Fields.
I'm saying they're still going to get picks and stuff.
But listen, if
they need a lot because their pick is 26.
If Dallas was going to do this deal, they would already have to have another deal in place for Dak because I really don't think that they would trade. I don't think that the Bears would trade this pick to get Dak because
they'd ask for Michael Parsons. That's exactly what they do.
I don't even know.
No,
just because if you're going to stay with a good quarterback, Dak's resume stands what it is. But we all know Dak ain't like that.
I'm not even going to lie to you. The deal would probably be because they have the 24th pick. So the deal would be 4 firsts, 2 seconds, Trayvon Diggs, and maybe somebody else. That would be, and I'm not kidding. That's the deal from move to 1 to 24. That's at least 4.
Oh, I don't mean from 1 to 24. Like you draft Caleb, like the Bears actually draft him. It's like a sign, one of those sign and trade deals type of thing.
You mean trade
or trade a sign? You know what I mean? Sign and trade, yeah. Draft and trade, whatever.
You would draft Caleb Williams.
So the Bears would the Bears would draft Caleb and then potentially trade with the Cowboys, get Dak
the first time
and
out,
get like whatever, like you said, get those 2 first-round picks, get like a second, third round. And
I got to give you one on each side.
Let me jump in. Because I see where Duke's going. I see Duke's just throwing out a hypothetical.
I was just saying, throw a wrench in there. Just
sounds a little crazy, but let me just say this. If we're doing predictions and all that, I think this is Dakota Prescott's last season on the Cowboys. I do not think he is a Cowboy in 2025.
They need to not pay that man. I don't even hold you.
And if he is, I think it's going to be on some Kirk Cousins on the Redskins in his first couple of years in Minnesota, where it's a fully guaranteed 1 or 2 year deal.
Just keep franchise tagging him. Which,
by the way, every quarterback should do that. You should.
Kyle, he's going to be a Patriot next year. Kyle, how you going to feel about that?
I will.
I would.
They got Marvin Harrison.
I would be.
I work in mental health, so I'm not going to say what I was actually going to say.
Hey, yo.
Wait.
I wasn't. I might have said I was going to unalive myself.
You're going to have a brain aneurysm.
Wait a second. You're trying to tell me right now, Kyle, that if we have the roster we have right now, the defense is going to be what it is. We get Marvin Harrison Jr. to go along with Kendrick Bourne, Demario Douglas, Hunter Henry, that offensive line that's going to get better. We just signed. We've got multiple signings on the line, and we had Dak Prescott, who is a top 10 quarterback to that. You would be upset?
Let me say this, all right?
Upset?
Duke asked me my gut reaction. My gut reaction was what it was. Y'all just heard my gut reaction.
My gut reaction would be thank you.
It was violent. It was a dark reaction. It was a dark
it's
reaction.
One thing if we have to trade the 3 pick this year for Dak, then you're going to meet because then we have to pay him too. But if you're trying to tell me in the free agency next year,
would I talk myself into it 12 hours later? Probably. Actually, Keenan, I think we had this conversation back in 2020. When we had when Brady left, I think we talked about Dak possibly coming in.
I wanted Dak. I mean, you said that we were going to go with the Chiefs. We're going to host the Chiefs after we got Cam Newton, and you're trying to tell me that Dak Prescott was
kind of delusional Pats fan.
I'm a fully delusional. Hey, there's a world.
Delusional fan, bro.
If we had a
just started winning as an organization during your birth. Like, yo, relax.
Get the fuck out of here. Listen.
I wasn't winning before, boy. Like, you got to lose for the next 20 like the rest of us. You got to go in a cycle now.
I feel you. No, I'm fully dedicated to this boring-ass NFL experience I'm going to have for the next 20 years. Trust me, I'm ready for it. I'm ready to be like y'all schmucks who we're going to win. I'm ready for that. I'm ready to be delusional. Don't get me.
Schmucks. Using all the words today.
I know. I'm in my white dictionary bag today. So don't.
Man is educated today.
He's really in his 3.14159 bag today.
He's on Pi Day for real.
Listen.
Pythagorean theorem, Kyle. Just use it.
Strictly shut the fuck up. Strictly talking about the 2020 season. I do want to point out we had like 8 defensive starters who sat out the year. That's got to be taken into account. Josh McDaniels did Cam no favors. I'm not speaking anymore about 2020 and what I said. Dak on the Patriots, though, I am not. Look, we're 3 or 4 years from the last time we talked about Dak to the Patriots because I do remember that conversation coming along sometime, Keenan. He's only disappointed me more. He looked terrible. He looked terrible this year in that playoff game. I would not. You're talking to someone. obviously you too, Keenan, who had Tom Brady as a quarterback. You gave me Dak Prescott. Yeah, that raised the ceiling. Yeah, I would talk myself into it. But would I feel confident in a playoff game with Dak Prescott? No, I would not.
But you're comfortable with Jacoby Brissett at the helm. And you're comfortable with Mac Jones at the helm.
I don't have comfortable with the Falcons with Kirk Cousins at the helm. What are we talking about?
Exactly. I don't have Super Bowl expectations for Mac, for Jacoby. I don't have Super Bowl expectations. With Dak, you got Super Bowl expectations that he's not going to fulfill. He's just not.
But you would say exactly this. You have playoff expectations, and once you get into the playoffs, anything can happen.
I would say that. I would absolutely say that.
So you're going to a playoff game, would you have more confidence in Jacoby Brissett or Mac Jones or Dak Prescott? That's the question.
It don't matter because you're not winning with Dak.
Jacoby Brissett got more playoff
wins. I do think you can win with Dak. I genuinely think that Dak can win a championship.
Look at the talent. Look at the talent that Dak's had around him.
He plays for the Cowboys.
It don't matter. They got a ton of talent, and he
all of a sudden now that you've been saying time out. Now we really need a timeout.
Playing for organizations.
You've been saying Dak can't win. Now all of a sudden, a hypothetical, he goes to the Pats and he's a Super Bowl champion, bruh.
I've never said Dak can't win. I've never once said Dak can't win. Dak can win.
Can we go back some pods? We didn't go back some pods.
You can go back some pods. You can go back some pods. I've never said that Dak's got to win.
Question for y'all.
Go on. I would love to hear it.
So this goes back to the draft pick. Okay, we're throwing Dak Prescott all the way out the fucking window. For this.
Good, that's fine. I think Dak can win, but good.
He's staying in Arlington. I agree with you.
Good.
Okay, so
Dak Prescott. Oh shit.
Obviously, Drake. Let's say it's Drake May or Jaden Daniels. Okay. Would you rather? I guess my question is: do you feel comfortable with next year's quarterback draft class, taking a quarterback next year, keeping Jacoby Brissett this year? Let's say you do draft Harrison, okay, and then next year you get the choice of Quinn Ewers, Shedeur Sanders, or Carson Beck. Is that something that, as Patriots fans, that y'all would be comfortable with, assuming you're picking in the top three again?
I would like Shedeur Sanders. I do like what I've seen from him. I think so. I would be fine. If you would assume that we're picking there, then yeah, I would be able to deal with that. But again, that would just be, you would feel that you would have the same question this year as you would next year, as you would the year after, because this coming year, you're going to have some offensive lineman or some defensive player who's going to show out and be like, this is the surefire best player in the draft. It might not be this quarterback. And then you're like, oh, well, this quarterback has X, Y, and Z because we have now 3 months of just watching tape and breaking these guys down and basically picking them apart. So, yes, I would do it because of the fact that if that was Drake May. So I would do it depending on the quarterback being selected at number 3 for us this year. But, we would just be in the same position the year after and the year after until we took a quarterback. So at some point, we're going to have to either take a quarterback if we continuously get into the top 3 or have to go sign someone like Dak Prescott, like whomever, who is a big guy in free agency, and we're going to have to make a move for him. One of the two has to happen.
Yeah.
So, unless you get hit the lottery and get like a guy in the 6th round, like Tom Brady, but like that doesn't happen often.
Brock Purdy.
Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, but yeah.
I would rather, I've kind of said it. I would rather grab Harrison, take a couple quarterbacks later, one this year, maybe even one next year. We got Brissett, who's average, the definition of average, right? He can at least move the ball. I have no idea what this Pats team is going to be like under Mayo. I expect the defense to play well, have no expectations for the offense. I really, truly have no idea what's going to come out of this season. That being said, I would like for us to eventually, depending on what goes on, maybe eventually hit the trade market for a QB. Whether that's Dak Prescott or otherwise. I'm gonna throw it back to y'all though. I love it when we debate. We just got on a Dak Prescott debate. Me and Keenan had on the topic for the NBA about where you start with a prospect like Wemby or any sort of superstar with rings. So I'm gonna say it with Dak Prescott right now. The rest of his career, let's say he's got 6 seasons left as a starter. That would be my guess, right? 4 to 6 years. Over or under 0.5 rings, Super Bowl wins for Dak Prescott. Y'all going over or under?
How many rings?
0.5.
You would probably have to go under, but I mean, it all depends on the situation.
I mean,
I don't trust Jerry Jones, and that
he could be on the bench and win a ring.
That's the reality for 90% of quarterbacks in the next 6 years, though, is under 1.
I
would say Mahomes in the league, everybody's under.
NFL is just a tougher landscape now.
I would say, though, with Jones, I would say Jerry is consistently giving you talent. I mean, never mind the free agent. I mean, they're doing nothing in free agency this year, whatever. We'll see what their draft is. But since Romo, they've consistently had talent there. Yeah, but their culture,
culture's messed.
Their culture, look, their culture. They've actually been they've been one of the better franchises. They just haven't won the big one. That's the thing. The expectations in Dallas are always to win it. They'll never win it, but they've been one of the more successful franchises probably over the last 12 years, maybe even 15 years, really since T.O. was there. They just haven't won, but they've at least created not a winning culture, but a successful culture.
I don't think they'll win as long as Mike McCarthy's there, to be completely honest.
They need the right coach, and I think they need to get the right coach. They need to not have Jerry Jones there because Jerry Jones has consistently just hired guys who are going to just kind of be yes man-ish. He is trying to be he's the face of the Cowboys.
Yeah, but they've won though. They've won though. It's really come down to the QB.
But they've won regular season games. Like it's
not. They even had They had Parcells there. They had Garrett. They kept too long. Yeah, but they had Parcells. They've had.
And guess who's still been there? Jerry fucking Jones.
I know, but you can't
really going nowhere with Jerry. Jerry C now. He might as well be Joe Biden. We might as well call him Jerry Biden. Jerry Jones Biden. That's what his name should be.
I think that's a common. I think that's a common sports media trope, though, because, I mean, look at the Cowboys. They've been, over a longer period of time, more successful year in and year out. Be clear when I say this, year in and year out, than the Giants and the Eagles. And the NFC.
Okay, but how many times are we going to translate wins to championships? If we want to talk
I hear you. I hear you, but let's not act like if Jerry Jones passes away tomorrow that the Cowboys are instantly going to get better. He's done about as much as you could possibly do from an ownership perspective, from a GM perspective, whatever. And I know Stephen Jones is there too, but you can't say they ain't tried. You know what I mean?
Bro, you didn't call Derrick Henry. You didn't give Derrick Henry a call. You can't tell me that.
That's bad. No, I agree with you.
I'm just saying, throughout years, you ain't do nothing. You had T.O. there with, what's his name? And y'all still ain't getting no running back. Then you got a crazy defense.
I'm saying you can't just put that on Jerry. I don't know how I have no clue how I'm defending. I don't know how I'm defending Jerry here, but we're not going to act like this was like the Knicks of the last 20 years. Cowboys have been
in the choice not to sign these great players. I could say the same thing about Knicks owners. It's your choice not to sign these great players who are available at that time. You want to win these championships. You talk about ring this. Every year you talk about this is our year, this our year. But yet when you have opportunities, you don't take advantage of them. There's plenty of great players who would have played for the Cowboys. Have
they not drafted well? They've drafted. They have been one of the better draft teams of the last 10 years. That offensive line.
I want to say 10 years. I'll give you 5.
Gilmore. That line's been intact since the Romo era.
Here's my issue. Here's my other issue with Dallas. Dan Quinn's gone. That defense is going to fall off a little bit. There's going to be a fall off for that defense. It's going to decline.
Tim's is chilling. Tim's is chilling.
The reason why they lost last year wasn't Dak. It was the defense.
It wasn't who they hired.
Sure. But Dak did no favors. Dak did no favors.
No, you're right. Dak didn't do many favors, but I mean, at least Dak in the second half tried to show up. The defense.
And y'all got to realize Diggs wasn't playing too. Diggs wasn't playing either.
I don't care if Diggs was playing or not.
I'm just saying we're
kind of games. You can't say you have a top
Diggs is a liability.
That's a shutdown part of the field.
Listen, I love shitting on the Cowboys more than anybody. We could do a whole podcast and shit on the Cowboys, all of us. But I'm not going to sit here and say that, Jerry Jones passed away tomorrow. The Cowboys are instantly going to be better. He's surrounded Dak and whoever's been there.
I can say it's 50-50 because we're going to make better decisions. It's not going to be.
You would have an argument.
It's not going to be our coaching staff saying, "Hey, let's draft this person," and you like. Nah, he ain't fast enough. I'm going to go with the person I want. But we got a whole report saying why we want this person, but because you're Jerry Jones, you make us draft this person. Then you wonder why we lose.
Listen, as someone who...
Year after year. It's like being a Packers fan. Like, okay, we're going to leave it to the people to draft.
As someone who's been a Pats fan, for someone who couldn't get Brady at least fast receivers. Like we always wanted them to at least give Brady some like toys to play with, just like more Deion Lewis types, right? I've actually lived through that with a successful team. Jones will go and get you the most talented guy in the draft year in and year out. Okay. He's going to get you with Zeke Elliott. He's going to get you these guys. On. He's going to get you Diggs, Bland. Go ahead.
Hold on a second. But you're right. We're talking about the Patriots. They didn't get that. But you want to know what they had? Culture, coach. That's it. They had culture, coach, quarterback. And I understand. Obviously, you need to hit.
But y'all are making them sound. Y'all are making the Cowboys sound like the fucking Jets here. I'm saying the Cowboys
we're making them sound like an inept playoff team.
We're the same model freaking championship.
That's quarterback.
They're an inept playoff team. Coach, quarterback, culture, and Jerry Jones is going to affect the culture and the coach. Obviously,
you're not wrong.
And the quarterback's going to have to. So you're going to have to need someone like Mahomes to overcome that. Someone of Dak level has won championships before, has won Super Bowls before. Dak is not a bad quarterback. Literally, week 17, he was top 4 for MVP. We can't make him sound like
weak ass year. In a weak ass year.
I don't care if it was a weak year or not weak year. He was a top 5 quarterback last year. He's been a top 5 quarterback before.
And it would have been a joke had he won that shit.
He's been in the MVP ranking before. I understand he's thrown for over 5,000 yards multiple times. You don't just do that for no reason. My point is Dak is a top 10 quarterback right now. You should be able to at least get to an NFC championship with a top 10 quarterback. And that's quarterback. Dak has takes culpability 100%. He's played bad in some games. But coach and culture, that is Jerry Jones affecting that because he's hiring the coach and he's setting the culture. So
he's basically the last 5 years of Aaron Rodgers with the Packers.
Maybe. But listen to this. Duke, you're telling me Duke, you're a Raiders fan. You're telling me you wouldn't take the Cowboys last 10 years? Branndon, you telling me you wouldn't take the Cowboys last 10 years as a Jags fan?
I would not.
So at least he's been to an AFC championship game once.
I had Al Davis. I know what it's like.
So here's somebody and I was actually talking to a buddy about this the other day because he's a Cowboys fan. It's a guy that I work with, one of my close friends. Shout out to Riley. He's a diehard Cowboys fans. I could sit here and tell you with 100% truth behind this. I'd take what Jacksonville's been. Because here's my reason. Okay, here's my reason for that. I understand you're winning, okay, as a Cowboys fan. But how many times do we hear it year after year? Oh, this is our year. You know, the Cowboys are going to win it all. You know, this and that. And then you get bounced in the wild card. You get bounced in the divisional playoff. And to me, that's more heartbreaking than winning 4 games because I sit here and tell myself, hey, the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to fucking suck this year. I'm expecting 3 or 4 wins. We're going to have a high draft pick. You know, maybe next year's our year.
That's a bit different. You're right. I get what you're saying.
You know,
but that's more
Giants fan.
Versus saying, hey, I've got a top 10 quarterback. I've got one of the best receivers in the league. I've got a top 3 defense. You know, I've got a top 5 to 7 offensive line. You know, and then you know you go 13-3. You know, you go 12-4. You go 14 and whatever, and then you turn around and you lose to the fucking. You know, whoever
Packers
in the divisional round.
Packers or 49ers. That's it. Packers or 49ers. That's who they
the Joe Schmo in the locker room.
And let's be clear.
And Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love, 49ers. That's all they lose to. It's the Packers or 49ers.
I'd rather go to a Jaguars game with Bobby Boucher, Mud Bowl, you're gonna lose.
Let's be clear. And I don't know how the fuck I'm defending Jerry Jones and the Cowboys. I am, but
because you're a real podcaster, boy.
True. True. But I mean, there's nothing wrong with losing to goddamn Aaron Rodgers out of all people. I mean,
there's not.
That's
year after year. Then
once.
But when you have expectations, and like you said, you're number one. You got home field advantage. You got everything. It's a layup sometimes, and it's just 2-3 things that you could have done.
Third and 20 against Aaron Rodgers. Can't blame Jerry for that. Can't blame Jerry for 3rd and 20 against Aaron Rodgers.
You're not blaming Jerry for the play on the field. I'm blaming for things that you're not doing off the field to make that play on the field not happen.
I feel you, but I would say still the Cowboys have a better front office than 90% of the league is all I'm saying.
They have a fine front office, but they don't have a great culture there. They don't have a winning culture. And culture in NFL matters more than a lot of other places.
They don't have a winning culture.
They have winning seasons. They have a winning culture. They don't and I'll argue with the front office more than anything because their front office might be making better decisions than the ones Jerry's making.
They don't have a championship culture. Let's be clear.
They don't
probably
have
a
that
winning
Migos
culture. They don't have a championship culture.
So
Right?
when
They
I'm
don't have
talking
Migos
winning,
culture,
I'm talking
exactly. Not
when I'm
one
talking
culture.
winning, I'm
Championships
talking
before.
championship culture. Obviously, like they win regular season games. They've won 12 regular season games the last 3 seasons. They get to the playoffs, and then they
Tim's just
lose.
enjoying this debate.
And
He's just chilling there.
No, Tim. No, Tim absolutely.
He's a
is
Giants
just-
fan. He's like, fuck them Cowboys.
Just
So,
taking
like-
it all in.
And I'm like, yo, I
No,
rock with the Cowboys. I ain't even mad at it. So it's just like, I could call a spade a spade.
No, and the Cowboys aren't.
They ain't
like a
winning
bad
20
team.
years.
It's like the Cowboys aren't like a bad team, of course, but like the goal is to win a championship there. That is literally what it's talking about. They can at least get to an NFC championship game, and every year they fall short. And again, sometimes it's quarterback play, sometimes it's culture, sometimes it's coach. And two of those three is affected by Jerry Jones. That's all I was saying was I think Dak could win a Super Bowl. I just think he needs to be in the right situation. If Jared Goff can get you there, I think if Jared Goff can get you there,
That's
Dak
why.
can get you there.
That's why. To
Yeah, but
bring
Jared
this back
Goff,
to your
Jared Goff's
question,
is better than Dak
the
Prescott,
over,
probably.
That under over,
don't-
I can give you the
I don't-
over if he's a backup quarterback. If he's Big Dick Nick Foles, he got to win 2 games.
If he's
You gonna give them the first championship in freaking?
First of all, super pause. First of all, super pause.
Yeah,
He's been to
yeah,
Super Bowl.
absolutely.
Dak ain't been to Super Bowl.
Nah, that's crazy.
But
No,
Dak.
he had-
Dak.
That's a real nickname. I can't pause.
No,
It's a
but
real nickname.
Is
this is
Jared
where
Goff
Duke's
better
right.
than Josh Allen?
This is where fuck no. This is where Duke's right.
Okay,
though.
he hasn't been to the Super Bowl. That's what we're talking about.
No, but yeah, Dak's had real talent like on both sides of the ball around him. Like, come
And
on.
Josh
100%.
Allen.
If Dak's really that,
Listen.
if Dak's really that MVP dude, like Josh Allen's brought you to the promised land. At least he's gotten you right there. Dak hasn't even done that. You can't fault Jerry for that.
He's gotten
with
one
Dak.
round more.
He got
So,
one
like,
there.
one time.
He got one.
One round
He
more,
got one.
one time.
Josh Allen got one.
They're
Josh
Josh
comparing
Allen's
that.
gone to one AFC championship game one time and got one.
I'm saying Dak Prescott been the one in the NFC championship.
No, he's been
my
he's only
point
been to
being-
the division round. But go on.
Listen, my point being, when you got Josh Allen in the playoffs, he's not fucking laying an egg. You're getting right there. You're going toe to toe with Mahomes. Dak Prescott ain't even done that. You can't
He's
blame
not
Jerry
toe-to-toe with
for
Rodgers.
So why are you defending
One
this
time?
so crazy right now? All right, put it this way: in these last 5 years that you're talking about with Dak Prescott, wouldn't you rather have Kirk Cousins or would you rather have Dak Prescott?
Same
Not for
player.
everybody.
Same player. Dak Cousins,
Dak
Kirk
Cousins
Prescott.
is
They're the same thing.
Well, you
Same
just
thing.
said Kirk Cousins could get to a Super Bowl. So you like earlier we were talking about that you would be you have.
I
More
said
faith
last
in,
year he could have. Oh yeah, I got more faith in Kirk than Dak. Dak
You
the
just
fuck
said
outta
Dak
here.
Cousins, Kirk Prescott are the same person, but you have
if you-
faith in Kirk
if
Cousins
you put
and
a-
not in
if
Dak
you put
Prescott.
a-
What about
Lying.
If you put a
I'm
gun to my
right now.
head,
I'm taking Kirk Cousins, and I know he trash.
you put a gun to y'all gonna let me finish?
Throw the tee
Y'all gonna
up.
let me finish? Y'all put a gun to my head right now. I'm taking Kirk over Dak. But are they the same player? Yeah, we've done this before. They're basically the
Max
same player.
Kellerman's here, everybody.
Okay.
I will
All right,
debate
Timmy,
a debate.
please
A
make
debate.
sense of this for me. Timmy, make sense of this. Am I weird for thinking what I just thought? Like,
No, everybody thought that. That's why it's a problem. Kyle just talking about some bullshit.
I got two things. If Dak Prescott next year was a Patriot, the Patriots are in such a better spot. They're not going to win,
They are.
100%. Maybe they win. I don't think they would win, but there is a possibility that they would win.
I think
To
if
go
you get
back-
Marvin Harrison, they win their division. To be honest with you,
and then
That's
we
another
have a
conversation
chance.
for another day.
And then we have a
That
chance.
is a big
That's all I'm
conversation. The AFC East is a really weird division.
saying. It is.
To go back to Kyle's question of next 6 years over under 0.5 rings, if Dak Prescott is a Cowboy, it's under 100%.
Fact.
But I think he can win somewhere else.
Interesting.
I
Very
My
agreed.
take on that.
Which was
Absolutely
Keenan's point, but
agreed.
I personally don't see it. I personally don't
My
see it with that.
exact point.
It's almost like the Matthew Stafford thing. If he's a Lion, they're not winning. But if
Okay.
he goes somewhere that's a really good situation with a good coach, with weapons, and
if he goes to
a
the
GM
Browns
that's
right now, do they
competent,
win?
there
You
go.
cannot tell me that Dak has not had weapons in a winning situation in Dallas.
No,
You
he's
can't do
definitely had weapons. I didn't.
True.
As soon as I said it, I knew it was going to get taken wrong.
I'm kind of
'cause
responding
he's-
more so to Duke and Keenan though. You can't tell me he hasn't been set up for success. in Dallas.
Oh no,
No one said he hasn't been set up for
That's
success.
Cowboys
you
century.
said they've
I just
drafted
said
really
coaching
well for
culture.
10 years, 100%. Almost every first-round pick they've had has worked out.
Tony Romo was
Offensively,
set up for
defensively.
success too.
Yes.
You know?
Exactly. They've always had contributors that get them there. It's just they fall flat when the biggest moment, and it's the funniest thing every single year. I love it.
And guess
But when you're
what?
supposed to
Guess
pick
what? You got
somebody, when
you
you're
got
supposed
Tom
to get
Brady.
those
You got
agents
you
to
got Tom Brady.
when
You got Tom Brady in
build that
Dallas. That shit ain't
defense.
happening. Don't matter.
If you have
Yeah, because Tom Brady had a
Tom
top
Brady.
5 defense
It's
his
Tom
first
Brady.
3
No.
years.
I'm saying even if
I-
you put, you got it. My point is, you got a QB who's like that. There, it don't fucking matter who's at the top.
Yeah, but
Tom
how
Brady-
many
Yeah, Tom
quarterbacks
Brady
are
had a
like
top 5
Tom?
defense his first 3 years and was saved by
You
Vinatieri.
just said
You
Tom
tell me the
Brady.
Tom Brady.
You tell me the Cowboys
When
didn't have
Tom
a mother,
Brady,
Oh Jesus!
the Cowboys didn't have a top 5 defense last year.
1 year? Oh my God,
Fuck
bro!
outta
If they
here,
had
bro.
that-
Okay, hold-
If they had
hold
that
on.
5 years ago when Zeke was healthy and Dak was healthy, and then you're telling me like when they were going to those playoffs runs and doing all that, then I'm with you. Then you have a great argument.
Kyle.
But they didn't have that. Guess why? Because Jerry didn't want to pay for a defense at that time. He didn't even want to pay for Zeke at that time. When he could have had
Y'all
a
are-
backup running back,
y'all are
he had
doing
wide receivers
somersaults.
that want to go there.
Y'all
Jason
doing
Garrett as
somersaults.
well. Jason
No,
Garrett.
hold
is a
on.
Jason
big
Garrett
reason
was
why
not
the
great.
defense sucked.
Jason Garrett was not
Okay,
great.
and he was there way too
Because
long
Jerry
because of Jerry
Jones.
Jones. But like,
Fair,
You
fair.
just said if
I'm
you
not
have
arguing with
that
y'all
guy-
there.
and you
Yes.
just said if you have Tom Brady there or you have someone like
That
that,
was
how
my
many people
comparison.
are really in the league that are like that? Mahomes, Burrow, Allen, probably,
True.
and maybe we don't
I'm
know
not
about
saying
Lamar
those
yet.
two.
Maybe
We don't
Lamar.
even know if we don't even know about Lamar
Maybe.
yet. There's 3 guys that are like that. We think C.J. Stroud might be like that. There's literally 3 guys with Lamar hinging and C.J. Stroud maybe. That's it.
Nah, you got to
So
give it
if
to
you-
Lamar. He got 2 MVPs.
Sure. Yeah, but we just saw him not play well in the
It
NFC
don't matter.
AFC
They didn't run the
Championship game.
ball.
Anyways,
They did dumb
fine,
stuff.
fine. You're right. Fine. If you want to give it to him, 4 guys.
I can't believe
that
I'm
are
defending
like
Cowboys
that.
this much.
No, but I'm
I
saying
can't
you
believe
have
I'm defending
4
the
guys who are
Kyle, I'm
actually
disappointed.
like that. So if you're,
I can't
if
believe
you're,
it.
if you're not one of those top 4 guys and actually like that, and I'm going to even put CJ Stroud, you assume is like that. We'll see more. Obviously, we don't know. That means that after those top 5, you're just trying to take a guy that Dak's one of those next 5 guys in that list. So of course,
Which is fair.
if you're not like that, you need to have a really good team around him. Does Dak have a really good team around him? Absolutely.
Yes.
He's had that. But he's
Has
had
had it for a
bad
few
coaching.
seasons.
He's had bad coaching. He's had a not great culture, playoff culture. We can all agree with that because we all
What's your
expect
quarterback?
the Cowboys
What's your
to
quarterback
No,
sets?
and
Does he-
your
he has
coach
a-
sets that, and then your quarterback sets that. Yes,
And he has a-
Dak takes
And he has a coach who's
culpability.
won a Super Bowl. He's got a coach who's won
Okay,
a
he
Super
won
Bowl.
it with
Let's be clear.
He won it with Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, cool. We understand.
point.
He had a guy like that. God, not many guys are like that. That's what I'm saying.
you-
if you don't have a
You
guy
just said he's
like
a perennial.
that, then you need,
He's a perennial MVP candidate, so he's not
He's been
like
in-
that now. Which is
Kyle. Kyle, what are you talking about? You just said
You
guys
said-
like no. You hold on.
But you said he's
guys
a
like
perennial
Brady.
MVP candidate.
Yeah. Okay,
Wouldn't
so
that
is
make him
Lamar,
like
but I'm
that?
not sure even Lamar's like that yet. There's a different level of that. That's Peyton Manning. That is Patrick Mahomes. That is Tom Brady. There are not many guys like that. So if you're not like that, you need a team around you that is superb. And the Cowboys have just choked. We understand that. That doesn't mean moving forward, Dak can't get over
They're
the hump.
cursed.
I
would be
Cowboys
shocked.
are partially cursed. They suck. You know what? And maybe you would be shocked, and maybe you're right. I just
They
think
don't
that
suck.
he's good
That's
enough.
not like that.
That's my point. That is
If they
my
had
point.
Jalen Hurts, they win a Super Bowl.
Okay, let's calm down with that.
If they had Jalen Hurts, they win a Super Bowl.
calm down
2
with
years
I love
ago.
how
Easy.
the
Easy.
arguments are just flip flopping.
They're like all over.
I'm
They're all-
I don't even
telling
know
you.
what's flip flopping.
We
I
needed
think
a
Dak,
timeout a long time ago.
Dak in the
needed a
right
timeout a long
situation
time
can
ago.
win a Super Bowl.
If
Dak
Dak
is
was on
not
the
a
Browns,
top,
I think he has a chance.
Dak's not a top 4 quarterback in the league. That has been my point this entire he's just not Mahomes, but in a great situation out of Dallas, he can win a there's a chance he could win a Super Bowl. That's it.
I don't think he's got
That's
it.
all.
They
I don't
was
think he's got
if they
it.
were switching that division the year the Eagles went to the Super Bowl, motherfucking Cowboys would have won that.
That's all. That's all. That's it.
One
Go on.
point. Kyle asked the question, if the Cowboys had Tom Brady, would they have won a Super Bowl? I truly believe that they would not have, because even in Tom Brady's most talented season, the 18-1 season, they lost the Super Bowl, and they would have to play Eli 2 times a year. It wouldn't work out. I'm just saying it would all fall apart somewhere, and then they'd meet him in the playoffs. It would just come to an end.
Eli retired
25 for Timmy. 25 for Timmy.
He'd have 0 career wins. He'd have 0 career wins with Eli in division. That's
exactly.
True. That's true.
He played after Eli, so he's going to win later on.
He's worse than how the Cowboys are now.
Y'all got me
every single time they get to the playoffs, Eli takes them out.
He's going to get that. He's gonna get the Bucs championship, and he's gonna get the Seattle Seahawks championship. So don't worry. After Eli, Tom Brady gonna still win with the Cowboys.
Kyle's about to pop out next here in a couple months with a CD Lamb jersey on, some white Air Force Ones, and green shorts.
Listen,
y'all got me. Y'all are crazy. Y'all got me simultaneously like fucking shitting on Dak while defending Jerry Jones. I don't even know how we got to that point, honestly.
Jerry Jones Biden got you fucked up, my boy.
Listen. Okay, to put a bow on all of this, Timmy just mic dropped. To put a bow on all of this, we all can agree the Cowboys are just an inept franchise that won't win. That's what we're gonna like. We'll boil it down to that, regardless of how we think Dak could do it here or Jerry Jones is whatever we actually think. The Cowboys just aren't winning. That's it, and that's the final line. And that we all are happy about that. We are all happy about that. As a Giants fan,
we can all unite on that.
We can all.
I actually want to see him win.
Okay, well, Duke can stay in that corner over there. We're all united. No Dallas.
Now you got me defending the Cowboys. What the?
Duke, listen, Duke, I don't want you to fuck around and get called Dusty Locks again, all right?
All right. Crazy. Shout out to that guy who was, shutting the man in the Dusty Locks. I'm pissed off. I'm going to block.
He said he's blocking the whole podcast.
Time out. Where'd you get this voice of that man from?
My man was he was defending Trap.
White in the dark alley. Shout out to
he was defending
the man in the Dusty.
He was defending Trap Soul like it was his wife. Defending Trap Soul.
Talk about Trap Soul.
He got caught me with his wife and shit. Like fuck that nigga in the Dusty.
That was one of the craziest. Timmy, I don't know if you saw this at all on our TikTok, but on a TikTok page, we're talking about Bryson Tiller's Trap Soul. Kyle said that it's definitely a classic. Duke said it's mid. And then this guy says this. Dude with the dusty locks is the reason y'all are getting blocks. Yes, I'm taking it over. Yes, I'm taking over I'm talking about the Trap Soul album. Dusty Locks should very literally never express another take in music again, ever.
Dude, that's why I love TikTok, Instagram. You can comment whatever you want. It doesn't matter. You can just put together a sentence. It's just so great.
They probably don't even watch the pod. They saw that one take and was like...
They literally just saw that and they're like, I'm never watching this again. Dusty Locks, bro, get him out of here.
He's waiting for this to drop, and when he hears the whole Dallas Cowboys thing, he's going to come after Kyle next. That's
when he hears me both defending and not defending the Cowboys at the same time.
And he's going to come after me. He's going to call me the ball with the broken back.
He's going to be like, who's up here? Skip Bayless?
The lowest bar, the only thing was that you said that Kirk Cousins could get to a Super Bowl and that Dak Prescott and Kirk Cousins.
Let me clarify that. I said gun to my head. I said if gun to my head, you make me pick one of them. I'm picking Kirk over Dak. That's all I said.
No, we're talking about the Falcons earlier.
You can't say that. You can't say that this pod. You got a disclaimer already.
I can't say gun to my head. I can't say gun to my head.
No, because you had a real thought. You had a real. We went to a real dark place.
No, the reason why that.
Move on.
And I quote,
to a dark place.
I work in mental health, so I can't say this.
But I'm gonna say it anyway.
No. The reason why I was talking about that is because when we're talking about the Falcons, we were talking about them being true Super Bowl contenders, and I thought you were in agreement with that.
No. I think last year with the Vikings, the way he was playing, I think they would have had his best chance of his career last year.
And do you think they possibly could have won, gotten to a Super Bowl last year?
I think I have no idea. He got injured too early. I think that would have been his best chance, though. The way that defense was playing, the way the offense was playing, he was playing the best ball of his career. And you couple that with how wide open the league was. They would have had a good.
It would have been a matchup.
We'll take it back a little bit because the reason why it was funny was you was sounding like you were saying Kirk Cousins would have a chance to get to a Super Bowl, but Dak couldn't. But you called Dak Cousins Kirk Prescott.
They literally are
Dak Cousins Kirk Prescott is wild crazy.
Dirk Nowitzki.
So when you merged the two together, plus saying those two things, it literally just made it sound like you were contradicting yourself, which is why I was funny.
Yeah, no, That's why y'all should lock me up if I said it like that close together because I did not mean it like that. If that's the case,
that's why the four of us were laughing so much because it made it sound like you were saying that Kirk Cousins could get to a Super Bowl,
why I put you in the
Dak
box,
couldn't,
my boy.
but you called them the same thing.
Because you asked.
That's what was funny.
No, because you asked. You said which one, and I think I just said they're the same person. And then after that, I followed up with "gun to my head," which apparently I'm not allowed to say. We'll have to censor that.
Did you say it again?
I didn't say it again. I said "gun to my head." I would take Kirk, but I don't think. I do not. You would have to rewind it back, but I do not think I said earlier in the episode that I would take Kirk to win a Super Bowl this coming year. Or I don't think I said that.
Because we were okay. Because I thought you co-signed with when Duke said that you think that, or when whoever said that.
We'll have to run the tape back.
Could be.
You'll see it when you edit. If I'm nodding along like vigorously, like fuck yeah, Kirk's gonna win that shit. I don't think I was, but maybe.
No, I'm saying he has an opportunity.
We'll see.
I just said it because Keenan mentioned the Falcons team record last year and them losing those many games by one. And I was like, the last person to do that was Tom Brady going to the Bucs. So like he could potentially, you know what I mean, pull it off.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think this is right now. We're all calm. I think this is a good time. We've been going for a while. It's a good time to cut it off. I really do. But I think we'll check the game tapes. We'll check and make sure that
we'll be back Monday.
Kyle didn't contradict himself in that sense. If he didn't,
I don't think I did.
If he did, then we're watching it. We're getting this back in here. But this was.
If I did, I got to come back in here on Monday, like duct tape over my mouth, and just like I won't be able to talk, some shit like that.
Just get your Jerry Jones jersey. We all right.
A Jerry Jones jersey is sick. A 00 Cowboys jersey. Jerry Jones on the back, full name.
God.
Just J. Jones.
Does anyone have any lasting points? Timmy, Kyle, Duke, Branndon, anyone got any lasting points at all before we depart?
I have one thing. I want to give props to Duke. Duke said on our For All the Dogs podcast, Duke said something about a future Drake beef, and I was like, no, I didn't really believe it. I'm like, that doesn't make sense. They kind of made a song, I think, last year. Rumblings that this Metro Boomin' and Future mixtape, album, project, whatever it is, could be centered around Drake and a Drake beef. So, Duke, you might have called that out. If so, props. We'll find out either within the next 10 minutes or for sure within the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Don't trust you, mama.
So, we'll be talking music for sure next week.
What would Pluto do? No Pluto. So,
but y'all,
I'm glad. I'm glad y'all are back. I'm glad to be back. I felt like we haven't recorded in weeks. I do want to give a shout out to FanDuel. I actually had a VIP FanDuel experience this past weekend. It was super dope.
Getting ads?
We'll see. Shouts to Jay. Shouts to Alex.
Get a sign, bro.
For sure. Shouts to FanDuel. Shouts to Jay. Shouts to Alex. Shouts to Misha. Shouts to everyone else who put on a fantastic event. Definitely treated us like VIP. It was an amazing time. And we'll talk more off camera about some other perks that I might.
I was about to say, you was there in person.
We'll talk. Yeah, right. Perks. That kind of perk.
Molly's.
They gave us
Molly
and perks. Molly and perks. They gave us Molly and perks.
Molly Percocet.
I gotta
lost that FanDuel.
Lost that endorsement. You don't pay, bro. Look at Kung Fu Kenny with the Midas touch.
Oh shit, man! Might as well talk about OxyContins over here. Shit.
I'm sorry. Stupid. I love that Kendrick mascot first, and that just happens to be so my bad.
Yeah, FanDuel supplied us.
You know what I'm saying? Anybody got any NCAA predictions while we're here? You know I'm going with North Carolina for everything for the 3-peat.
Women's bracket.
Oh, we're okay. So we're waiting. I'm gonna wait because I'm gonna be talking this. I'm gonna be talking a lot when we talk women's and men's. But I just want to say, for doing the Believe show, Believe in Miami basketball, watching the Hurricanes be garbage this season to end the season was really tough. Like, they've lost like 10 in a row and 11 of their last 12. It's because they didn't have a lot of their starting lineups, but we just losing to BC the way we did by 18. Like, Quentin Post had 30. Like, what are we doing? But you know what? RJ Davis is a problem. North Carolina, I'm fine with them winning, but you know, that's that. And I'm going to be talking women's. I can't not talk women's tournament. So that's
question for everyone here, and then a question for Tim. First of all, the WNBA draft still like a couple days after the season ends, right? Is that true? It's like early April or something like that. So the season starts late May?
May 16th, I think is the first day.
We got to get this WNBA fantasy draft popping, fantasy league popping. Tim, are you going to be a part of that? Are you in the league?
This first I'm hearing about it. I'll play 100%. I'll do research. I'll get in it.
All right, because we got 5 right here then, and Keenan said he's got a few, so we'll see who we get for this.
Austin's a for sure 6. So we've got to get Cam in there.
For WNBA.
Cam will do it. So like we've got a locked in for sure 6. Because I know Austin like 100%. Cam's 95% sure he'll do it. So like we pretty much got to solidify.
Picks are going to be so nuts. That's the first time I think you can say that about.
Wait, time out. We gotta.
You're gonna have every team.
Now.
Every team's gonna try to be splashos.
I was gonna say, I call dibs on the Caitlin Clark, Michael. Whoever gets Caitlin Clark or Sabrina gets to fight over splash. If someone gets both of them, absolute. Like no one's allowed.
You got to get the kicker though. You got to get what's her name? I'm going blank right now.
Brittany Griner?
No, that's definitely not a splash. I'm drawing a blank.
Tina Charles.
Charles, that's a name.
No,
she's still in the league. Is Tina?
Yeah,
is Tina Charles
she's
still in the league?
I believe she's still in the league, but she's
oh, crazy.
Yeah, I believe she's still in the league.
Great pod. I love this.
This was fun. This was a good time. Yeah, Tina Charles was putting up 8. 5? Wait, what was that?
Was it this the first 5?
This is the first 5. So shout out to the first 5, everybody.
You know what I mean?
Shout out to the 5 gang. This is great.
Dusty Locks for the win.
Dusty Locks for the win.
Gonna be some heated NFL debates if we get this 5-way tandem going. If we get to start at 5 in the NFL. That's right. Rich and Petty Volume 1 dropping at midnight. A sick ass
Timmy, you weren't in that group chat, but like the group chat was going nuts for because Kyle was like, "There's lots of music dropping tonight," and actually naming music, and then Branndon was like, "Yeah," Branndon was like, "Yeah, I'm dropping a mixtape," and we went off from there, talking Splash Ho's record, Brandon's time. It's got to be a video album with Brandon's timeouts. We've got Kyle like, "Yo, we might back in the pod." Like, "Yo, we
gonna be holographic. Every time you see it turn, it's a new T." Like,
hey, new interlude just dropped. Me going crazy about Dak Prescott and the Cowboys and Jerry Jones. That's gonna be the new track.
Splash Show.
And then, God, hey, can you guys hear me? Hey, and then it switched to the next track.
For real, that'd be a fire ass.
Hello,
that'd be a fire.
Can guys, am I back?
Hear me?
My back.
And right before,
then you get the Wheezy ladder flick. Wheezy ladder flick after that. Can y'all hear me?
Before any time we exit like a song right before interlude, we just have Kyle losing it. Are you kidding me? Going right into the interlude, and then after.
I can't believe I'm defending Jerry Jones right now.
I can't believe
I still don't know how we got there.
But okay,
I can't wait to debate myself once again.
Question.
We'll talk after. Timmy, Kyle, Duke, Branndon, Warner Brothas Podcast. That's TikTok. That's YouTube. That's Instagram. Warner Brothas Podcast. That's Kyle Castro Live Take. This is Keenan Warner Live Take. Got to get them on Live Take too. But we are out of here.
Like a man.